Chapter 41. Not good. Miss Yuka is missing again. Naruto was lying on the bed with his hands behind his head. It was snowing in the closed room. This was the snow transformed by Naruto's chakra. Snowflakes fell from the roof like willow catkins in the wind and disappeared in midair. It was very beautiful. With the help of Kakashi, Naruto's water attribute had indeed improved by more than a little. But if he wanted to fuse the wind attribute and water attribute into an ideal ice attribute that could be used in combat, there was always a little bit more. At this time he was annoyed, and when he heard the shouting outside he was angry. Naruto rolled his eyes and looked at the sky. This princess is really worrisome. Today, Tian was not in a good mood, and the white wind was blowing outside. Everyone stayed in their own room, and when they slacked off a little, the princess actually ran away. She was not afraid of freezing to death outside. Complaining was complaining, but as a ninja he could not ignore his duty. Pushing the door open, the cold wind mixed with snowflakes hit his face. The temperature in the snow country was low, and the air was relatively dry. The snow would not melt immediately when it fell, so it was not uncomfortable. But in this kind of weather, footprints were easily covered by the wind and snow. It was quite troublesome to track with footprints. He had to peel off the snow on the surface and find the footprints below. But some places under the snow were ice and rocks, and the snow was dry, so it would be scattered when the wind blew. It was difficult. Naruto glanced around, looking for the footprints left by the princess. Hinata also ran out. Naruto-kun. Naruto raised his head and said, "You came at the right time, help me see where the princess is." Hinata had Byakugan, but it didn't matter to her anymore. In the wind and snow, Hinata's hair was a little messy. Naruto helped Hinata's hair tucked in her clothes, and helped her put on a hat. Hinata's little face was a little red in shyness, and she opened her Byakugan to look for the princess's tracks. Reality proved that it wasn't difficult for the supercilious eyes to find a person. Hinata, 7 o'clock direction, 10 kilometers away, running towards 9 o'clock on foot, about 1 meter per second. The target's stamina is almost exhausted. 10 kilometers to 7 o'clock? That was the direction they had come from. In other words, Princess Little Snow had already secretly escaped. It was just that they had just discovered that she was not around. However, it was fortunate that they had discovered it early. If they had been any later, Princess Little Snow would have most likely exhausted her strength and frozen to death in this world of ice and snow. Naruto identified the direction. 10 kilometers isn't very far. I'll be back soon. You just wait in the convoy. Hinata shook her head. I can also help Naruto-kun. Naruto rubbed Hinata's head through the hood. Listen to me. The weather is so bad. I'll be back soon. Hinata still wanted to fight for it, but she gave in under Naruto's gaze. Kakashi and Sasuke arrived later. By then, Naruto had already rushed into the snow. Kakashi asked about the situation. Since the target had been confirmed, there was indeed no need to use too much manpower. He said to Hinata, "Pay attention to Naruto's situation. If there's an accident, report it immediately so that we can rush over to help." Hinata obeyed and activated the supercilious eyes to track. However, she soon saw a shocking scene. Naruto's speed suddenly increased after running a kilometer. Like a cheetah, he sped through the snow. Apart from the sudden increase in speed, Hinata didn't know if it was an illusion, but she felt that the snow and wind in the sky seemed to be circling around Naruto. Hinata was shocked. Kakashi hurriedly asked, "Is there a situation?" Hinata was stunned and shook her head. "No, there's no situation. I just saw a rabbit hit a tree." Kakashi. Sasuke. Subconsciously, Hinata didn't report what she saw to Kakashi. She felt that since Naruto didn't usually show it, she shouldn't say too much. She was secretly delighted. It turned out that Naruto-kun was so powerful, and only she knew this secret. In the world of ice and snow, Naruto ran quickly. At this time he had already removed half of the chakra from his load equipment. The original 50% load was reduced to 25% of the 205 kilograms load. After removing half of the load, Naruto suddenly felt as light as a swallow. It was as if he could fly and walk side by side with the sun. Of course, this was just a feeling. He wasn't so awesome that he could escape gravity by running. 10 minutes later, Naruto finally arrived at the place that Hinata mentioned. Then he looked in the direction of 9 o'clock. Fortunately, he really found a clue. In the place where the snow melted, Naruto found a warm treasure. It should have been dropped by Princess Little Snow. The speed of the motorcade in the snow was only 50 kilometers per hour. A distance of 10 kilometers would only take around 10 minutes. This was the time that Princess Little Snow escaped. It was also the time that she hurried through the snow. For a celebrity like Princess Little Snow who hadn't undergone much training and was still running in the snow, 10 minutes would only be 1,000 meters? If it was only 1,000 meters, it would be very easy to search in a fan shape. Sure enough, in less than a minute, Chu Yin found the panting Feng Hua Xiao Shui. Naruto sped up and came in front of Feng Hua Xiao Shui, blocking in front of her. Feng Hua Xiao Shui was already running out of stamina. Her footsteps were weak. Naruto's sudden appearance caused her to lose her balance and collide with Naruto. Naruto firmly supported the princess who almost fell down. She chose to escape in such weather. If she didn't find out, with her physical fitness, it wouldn't take long for her to freeze to death in this snowy wilderness. Naruto sighed. Are you very afraid of your uncle? Feng Hua Xiao Shui clumsily stood in the snow. Afraid? Of course I'm afraid. If we don't hurry up and leave this damned place, you will all die. The so-called resistance will only increase the meaningless death. You will die, Third Taffy will die, everyone will die. Naruto curled his lips. But you chose to escape at this time and place. You have already given your life to the heavens and earth. You are not even afraid of death, so why are you afraid of your uncle? You don't want to see the people around you die, right? Feng Hua Xiao Shui. I'm just afraid that I will be implicated by you all. She said no, but in her heart she meant the opposite. Is this called being arrogant? Naruto suddenly wanted to tease this princess. He said mysteriously, let me tell you a secret. I am someone who can see the future. In the future I see, you will not die. You will become a gentle queen and lead your people to live a prosperous life. Feng Hua Xiao Shui was slightly stunned. Because Naruto deliberately controlled the wind and snow around them to be pushed away. The two of them were standing in a quiet world, undisturbed by the wind and snow. Then she laughed. Even if you want to comfort me, you don't have to give such a lame reason. See the future? There is no such thing in this world. No such thing? There really was such a thing, but it was not Naruto. It was a big toad that was very good at dreaming. Naruto continued to make up nonsense. I'm not lying. How about this? I'll tell you some things that will happen next, and you will know if I'm lying or not. Princess Little Snow had already exhausted all the strength in her body to run out. She did not have the strength to go back, and even if she had the strength, it would be too slow. Naruto carried Princess Little Snow on his back and continued forward. When they passed by a tunnel, Naruto said as he ran, there will be a train coming soon from this tunnel. Your uncle, Feng Hua Nuteo, will stand on the fully armed train and slaughter the snow country warriors brought by Taito Asama. Feng Hua Xiao Shui looked at the layer of ice underground. Because she was taller than Naruto by a head, she could see the path ahead without having to straighten her upper body when Naruto carried her on his back. He replied, who would believe you? Taito Asama must have told you that there is an intact track under the layer of ice in this tunnel. As for the train, every time it uses up a lot of energy to melt the track. It will not appear at this time. As he said that, the layer of ice under their feet suddenly melted at a speed visible to the naked eye, revealing the intact track. Seeing this, Naruto said unhurriedly, look, it's here. As Naruto spoke, the track began to shake. In the distance, they could vaguely hear the sound of a train whistling through the tunnel. Feng Hua Xiao Shui was shocked. At this moment, they were in the middle of the tunnel. No matter if it was in front or behind, there was still a distance of several thousand meters. If the train came at this time, the two of them would definitely die. She cried out, it's over. We're going to die. Naruto said calmly, don't panic. The train approached, and a huge train appeared behind them. Naruto said unhurriedly, am I right? Hold on tight. Before they were hit by the train, Naruto began to increase his speed. The front of the train also increased its speed. and it steadily rolled behind Naruto and Fenghua Xiaoshui. Chakra began to draw. Chakra remaining. 25%, 15%, 5%. Naruto's speed increased, and the train's speed continued to increase. The tunnel in front of them was bright. There were only 200 meters left before they could get out. When the last chakra was drawn, Naruto roared and rushed out of the tunnel. He left the track and dodged to the side. Hula. The train brushed past them. Fenghua Xiaoshui's eyes were wide open, and she was breathing heavily. It seemed that she was even more tired than Naruto, who was below. Naruto took 2 deep breaths and continued to tease Fenghua Xiaoshui. In a while the train will stop. Asama Santaito will bring people down from the mountain. Then the side of the fully armed train will open and shoot out kunai like a swarm of wasps. Fenghua Xiaoshui's eyes were wide open. What Naruto said was really unbelievable to her. However, the train began to slow down after 50 meters and stopped. Fenghua Xiaoshui walked out of the train and stood on the front of the train with a loudspeaker in her hand. Xiaoshui, long time no see. Fenghua Xiaoshui. A loud roar came from the mountain slope. Asama Santaito was wearing samurai armor and holding a long sword. He shouted, "We will not let you hurt Princess Xiaoshui. This time we will protect Princess Xiaoshui." Fenghua Xiaoshui's eyes widened. She lost her mind and murmured, "No, no, no." Naruto's voice appeared beside Xiaoshui's ears. "If you beg me, I will save them. However, this is not part of the mission of protecting you. You have to promise me one thing. Are you willing?" Chapter 42. The whispers that rang in her ears were the last straw in front of Little Snow's eyes. Windy Snow screamed, "Save them! Save them! I'll promise you anything. Quick! I beg you!" Wolf Feng Avalanche suddenly appeared on the train and knelt down on one knee. "Let your subordinates deal with these people." Blizzard squinted his eyes and shook his head. "No, I want them to feel true despair. Only then will they listen to me." Blizzard raised his hand and signaled the ninjas in the carriage. Then the steel plates on the side of the train moved, revealing holes that looked like honeycombs. Blizzard shouted, "Fire!" With a command, the mechanism on the train started to operate, and kunai shot out from the machine. Blizzard's eyes widened. Her heart had already sunk to the bottom. In her eyes, Naruto didn't move. But did Naruto really not move? The samurai rushed down from the hillside, and Naruto jumped in front of them. Multiple shadow clone jutsu. Bang! 400 doppelgangers spread across the battlefield. 200 of them Naruto blocked the samurai's path. The other 200 Naruto either carried or dragged the samurai to the back of the hill, avoiding this round of shooting. As for Naruto himself, although his face was expressionless, he still looked very cool. In fact, his muscles couldn't help but tremble. Pain. Naruto didn't forget to take the opportunity to ask for benefits from Blizzard. "Remember, you owe me a promise." After the first round of shooting, Kakashi, Hinata, and Sasuke arrived at the battlefield. After Naruto left, Hinata used her Byakugan to track them. The moment she discovered the situation, everyone rushed over. Sasuke jumped onto the ice peak and stuck several explosive talismans on it. The explosive talismans exploded, and the ice peak collapsed. Huge chunks of ice rolled towards the train. Blizzard shouted, "Retreat!" The train started and quickly left. The huge explosion shook the surrounding mountains and caused an avalanche to roll towards the train. But in the end, the train still escaped. Kakashi, Hinata, and Sasuke didn't chase after them. They chose to protect Blizzard. Hinata ran over from afar. "Naruto-kun." Naruto grinned, "I'm fine." Kakashi came over. "Naruto, you did well this time." "Very well." Naruto smiled and accepted Kakashi's praise. Third Taito came over with a group of samurai from the snow country. Naruto waved his hand generously, indicating that he didn't need to worry. "Yes, don't worry because your boss has already made a promise." Third Taigu came before Windflower Little Snow and apologized profusely. Windflower Little Snow ignored him and walked towards the carriages alone. Then, Third Taito once again thanked Kakashi and the other ninjas. But no one expected that the ninjas from the snow country would return. In the direction of the convoy, a huge airship rose from the ice cliff. Kakashi and the others felt that something was wrong and wanted to rush over. At this time, the female ninja with mechanical wings on her back glided over and scattered dozens of kunai. Behind each kunai was a blue crystal tied to a string. Kakashi shouted, "Dodge!" Everyone dodged. The blue crystals exploded, and icicles rose from the ground. The power of the explosion pierced through the car and lifted it 5 or 6 meters high. At the same time, the door of the airship opened. Fatty, who had fought with Naruto before, aimed his mechanical arm at Blizzard. He ejected and successfully grabbed Blizzard. The airship flew higher and higher. No matter how strong the ninjas were, they couldn't fly. They could only stare. Kakashi suddenly realized that one person was missing. He shouted, "Where's Naruto?" Everyone looked around. Hinata rolled her eyes at the airship in the sky. "Naruto-kun, he got on the airship." Kakashi looked over. "That restless guy, let's go after him." Under the airship, Naruto was attached to it with chakra. Ninetails said, "You look very active, those guys are not easy to deal with." Naruto replied, "Isn't there 9 Llamas sensei? Otherwise, I wouldn't dare to mess around." Ninetails, "Is this the feeling of being trusted? But why does Naruto's mouth sound like he's using me?" Ninetails snorted, "I won't do anything unless it's a matter of life and death." Naruto replied obediently, "Yes, yes. 9 Llamas sensei will do anything if it's a matter of life and death." Ninetails. The airship flew into the sky. Naruto created a clone to sneak into the airship. The airship's security wasn't very tight. Perhaps they didn't even think that anyone could sneak in. Soon Naruto found Fenghua Xiaoshui. Fenghua Xiaoshui was sitting on the sofa. Her hands weren't tied up, and she wasn't captured. Fenghua Xiaoshui and Fenghua Raging Waves looked like a normal pair of uncle and nephew. Fenghua Raging Waves looked at Fenghua Xiaoshui with a kind expression. "You've become prettier, Xiaoshui." Fenghua Xiaoshui sat on the sofa with her legs crossed and her eyes closed. Fenghua Raging Waves. "Do you have the hexagonal crystal with you?" Fenghua Xiaoshui. "Yes." Fenghua Raging Waves. "Very good. That's the only link to the Fenghua family. And it's the key to the secret treasure." Fenghua Xiaoshui raised her head. "The key to the secret treasure?" Fenghua Raging Waves was like a kind elder as he explained. "When I inherited this country from your father, the Fenghua family didn't leave behind any assets. Xiaoshui must have hidden the assets somewhere. I looked everywhere and I finally found it. The treasure is hidden in the rainbow ice wall. I also found a keyhole that fits the hexagonal crystal. So the hexagonal crystal on you is the key to opening the treasure." "Okay, give me the hexagonal crystal." Fenghua Xiaoshui looked at Fenghua Raging Waves, then raised her hand and took the hexagonal crystal off her neck. Fenghua Raging Waves took it and examined it carefully. "This is..." Fenghua Raging Waves' expression changed. He grabbed Fenghua Xiaoshui's collar. "Don't joke around. This is obviously fake." Fenghua Xiaoshui panicked. "How is this possible?" She suddenly remembered something. Kakashi Hatake seemed to have entered her room. He saw that crystal. In order to not anger Fenghua Raging Waves, Fenghua Xiaoshui quickly explained, "Kakashi Hatake." Fenghua Raging Waves. "What?" Wolf Fong Avalanche next to him said, "I see. If it's that man, then it's possible. After all, Blowing Snow mentioned the hexagonal crystal when we ambushed them the first time." Crane Wings Blowing Snow quickly apologized. "I didn't think that I would fail the first time. I'll go and take the hexagonal crystal back." Fenghua Raging Waves' anger slowly dissipated. He calmed down and said, "Yes, there's no need for that. That guy will appear in front of us soon." Fenghua Raging Waves turned to Fenghua Xiaoshui. "Xiaoshui, you're now a very famous actress. Can you act in a play? I promise, as long as I get the hexagonal crystal, no one will be harmed. I only want the hexagonal crystal." Fenghua Xiaoshui carefully took a step back. "What do you want to do?" Fenghua Raging Waves. "Those guys will definitely sneak into the prison to save you. After you're saved, ask Kakashi for the hexagonal crystal, and then bring them to me. Don't worry, I won't hurt them. It's just that I haven't seen that boy in a long time. When you were still young, When I took over this country from Snow, it was that wood-leaf ninja who saved you from me. He really is an outstanding ninja. Chapter 43. Snowflake was imprisoned. In the prison, she thought of Naruto, and the future that Naruto said he saw. Snowflake. If he could see the future, how could he not know that they would capture me? I'm so funny, I actually believed it. That guy knew that there were train tracks under the tunnel, most likely because of Third Taffy. As for the train, it should be information that he collected beforehand. Third Taffy brought warriors here probably because he went missing, so he gathered people. Sigh. A perfect ending doesn't exist in reality. As long as we don't resist, no one will die. While Snowflake was complaining in the prison, waiting for Kakashi to come and rescue her and cheat her of the hexagonal crystal, Naruto had already successfully infiltrated the Snow Nation's palace. It was the upper level of Snowflake's prison, next to the main hall, the bathroom. Outside the door, Crane Wing blowing snow passed by. Hurry up, Lord Avalanche is still waiting. Winter Bear Freezing Rain, who was the burly fatty, replied from the bathroom. Got it, even going to the bathroom is rushing me. Fatty squeaked into the bathroom. The armor on his body was fine during battle, but now it was a bit of a hindrance. So he took it off. He was the one who successfully captured Snowflake in this battle. Thinking of the possible reward, Fatty's mood was exceptionally good, and he couldn't help but whistle. He completely didn't notice that Naruto was slowly approaching from the ceiling. He drew his azure sleeve sword, silently approached, and then slashed down. A line of blood appeared on the neck, and blood slowly flowed out. The watermelon-sized head slid down, and was about to roll down. Naruto grabbed the head by the hair, and held it in his hand. Damn idiot, this head almost fell into the urinal. He didn't want to go there and pull it out. Then Naruto quickly took off the other parts of the chakra armor on Fatty, then took out a storage scroll and sealed the corpse and the head inside. Ninetales, Why did you pull this guy's soul in again? Naruto said. I didn't want to either, but his soul was sucked in after I killed him. Truth. Of course it was bullshit. After careful consideration, Naruto confirmed that Ninetales' words about not being able to devour other souls were extremely credible. Ninetales said, devour it later. I want to see its attributes. Ninetales' chakra overflowed from the cage, and came into contact with Fatty's soul. Ninetales said, water attribute. You can devour it. Naruto already had the water element, and devouring it like this would only increase his soul force. If he didn't consume any soul power, the situation where Naruto didn't have enough soul power to turn and devour him wouldn't happen again. Ninetales was slightly relieved. It wasn't an attribute that he didn't have. Naruto was a little disappointed, but it was also expected. After all, if he wanted to use the chakra armor to fuse with the ice attribute, he had to be good at the wind and water attributes. Naruto pressed his hand on Fatty's soul, and Fatty's soul twisted and liquefied into Naruto's body. This feeling was very comfortable, as if a person who hadn't drunk a cup of water for 6 or 7 days had finally drunk a large cup of water. Then, Naruto used a spray to remove bloodstains to hastily clean up the scene. He put on Fatty's chakra armor and said, transformation. A lifelike Fatty appeared once again. The only flaw was that Fatty's equipment model was a little too big, and it was a little inconvenient for him to wear it. However, with the transformation, as long as he didn't fight, he wasn't afraid of being exposed. Naruto injected the wind and water attributes of chakra into the armor, and then condensed an icicle in his hand according to Naruto's idea. The moment he saw the icicle successfully condense, Naruto almost burst into tears. In order to cultivate ice release, he had put in a lot of effort. But it only condensed snowflakes. But now, just by wearing a set of equipment, he could achieve his goal in an instant. This feeling, it was like a civilian player meeting a pay-to-win player, and he really didn't know whether to curse or not. After repeatedly checking in front of the bathroom mirror, and confirming that there were no mistakes, Naruto walked out of the bathroom with complicated feelings, and entered the main hall. It didn't attract too much attention. Naruto, who had turned into Fatty, stood quietly on the side and didn't say much, standing there obediently. But as time passed, it was easy to arouse some suspicion. For example, that female ninja. Crane's wings blowing snow asked. Why are you so quiet today? Naruto, who was disguised as Fatty, replied. My stomach hurts. So he continued to stand on the side without saying anything. On the throne in the main hall, Windflower Raging Waves closed his eyes and rested. Only when the news came that Kakashi had arrived did he open his eyes. Windflower Raging Waves said, Everyone, get ready to warmly welcome our honorable guest. The lights were turned off, and the surroundings were dark. They didn't have to wait for too long. 5 to 6 minutes later, footsteps could be heard in the corridor. Windflower Snow brought Kakashi and the others to the center of the main hall. The lights were turned on. Sitting on the throne, Raging Wave's face revealed a wise smile as if everything was under his control. You've worked hard, Snow. Windflower Snow turned around and charged towards Raging Waves. Kakashi and the others knew that something was wrong, and wanted to chase, but Wolf Fang Avalanche and Crane's Wings Blowing Snow blocked in front of Kakashi. This was the moment. Multiple Shadow Clone Technique. Naruto, who had turned into Fatty, stood behind Wolf Fang Avalanche and Crane's Wings Blowing Snow. His position was perfect, and he caught them off guard. While the two were on guard against Kakashi and the others, Naruto's 400 clones successfully blocked them. At the same time, he grabbed Windflower Snow and returned to Kakashi's team. Naruto smiled. Princess Snow, trust me, even if you hand over the hexagonal crystal, it won't change anything. Windflower Snow was shocked to see a Fatty suddenly turn back into Naruto. Why are you here? Naruto didn't answer, and handed Windflower Snow over to Hinata and Sasuke to protect. Then he decided to make a scene. Crane's Wings Blowing Snow stared at Naruto. It's you brat. Where's Winter Bear Freezing Rain? Naruto casually said. Who? That Fatty? I don't know, maybe he's dead. Windflower Raging Waves saw that the situation had taken such an unexpected turn, and suddenly clapped. Good. Very good. As expected of a ninja of Konoha, he always surprises me. However, you better hand over the hexagonal crystal, or else. Windflower Raging Waves didn't change his confident smile, and looked at Naruto. You shouldn't have worn this armor. Was there a problem with the armor? Naruto's heart skipped a beat, and he was about to take it off, but it was a moment too late. The armor was already attached to his body, and an electric current hit his body. He felt his body go numb, and chakra lost control, and Naruto's multiple shadow clone was forced to cancel. Hinata exclaimed, Naruto-kun. Hinata and Sasuke were held back by the Snow Country's female ninjas. Kakashi was blocked by Wolf Fang Avalanche. Windflower Raging Waves appeared behind Naruto. Hand over the hexagonal crystal, and all of you can leave. Otherwise, I'm afraid that someone will stay here forever today. The chakra on his body was swallowed up, and at the same time, the weight on Naruto's body was lifted. When Windflower Raging Waves raised his hand to grab Naruto, Naruto used all his strength. He pulled out his sword, turned around and slashed vertically. Windflower Raging Waves didn't dodge, and the green sleeve sword hit Chakra's barrier, making a buzzing sound. That was the sound of the sword trembling. Windflower Raging Waves looked at the sword in Naruto's hand in surprise. It actually wasn't shattered by Chakra's barrier. It's a treasure sword, it's mine. Naruto mocked. You don't deserve this sword. Windflower Raging Waves shook his head. A brat without chakra dares to clamor with me. Wood Leaf ninjas are as arrogant as ever. Then let me see if you have the ability to be arrogant. Chapter 44. Windflower Raging Waves attacked Naruto. He didn't use any ninjutsu. Instead, he teleported in front of Naruto and threw a heavy punch at Naruto's face. I can see it. Just as the fist was about to hit Naruto, the power accumulated in Naruto's right leg suddenly exploded. While dodging Windflower Raging Waves' attack, the tip of the sword slashed across Windflower Raging Waves' armpit. Wong. Whether it was the angle or the strength of this attack, it was very good. Unfortunately, Windflower Raging Waves had Chakra's barrier to protect him. Otherwise, this attack would have cut him in half. Windflower Raging Waves praised. You're quite slippery. Naruto mocked. Stop bragging. If it wasn't for that barrier, you'd be a dead man now. Windflower Raging Waves mocked back, "You're the one bragging. You can't even see through a layer of barrier. How can you kill me?" "Forget it. I'm not going to waste time with a clown like you. You freeze." Windflower Raging Waves raised his right hand and pressed on his left forearm. There was a gotcha sound, as if some mechanism had been activated. In the next moment, Naruto was frozen into an ice sculpture. Windflower Raging Waves came in front of Naruto and pulled the azure sleeve sword out of Naruto's hand. Naruto's frozen hand cracked open. Blood flowed out, but it was quickly frozen. Windflower Raging Waves said, "I've said it before. You shouldn't have worn this chakra's armor." Then he looked at the azure sleeve sword in his hand and clicked his tongue. "It's really a rare treasure sword. Not only did it not shatter when it slashed chakra's barrier, it didn't even bend. Not bad. Not bad at all." Windflower Raging Waves waved it a few times and felt very satisfied. Then he placed his sword on the frozen Naruto's neck. "Everyone stop. Give me the hexagonal crystal, or I'll smash this little guy together with the ice." Ninetales sealed space. Naruto asked Ninetales for help. "Teacher Nine Llamas, isn't it a matter of life and death now?" His body was frozen, and there was a knife on his neck. No matter how one looked at it, it was extremely dangerous. However, Ninetales said calmly, "There's no hurry. Haven't you noticed that this chakra armor is very suitable for your training? Help with cultivation?" How could he still be in the mood to talk about cultivation? Are you kidding me? The knife was already on his neck. Furthermore, when the Qingxiu sword was forcefully taken away, the web between his thumb and forefinger had already split open. Even if he wasn't disabled, he was still seriously injured. The corner of Naruto's mouth twitched. He had 100 curse words to curse Ninetales' family in his heart, but he didn't know if he should say them. Usually, when she encountered a problem in cultivation, Ninetales would be like a big boss. She would only spit out a bunch of useless and tasteless farts after much persuasion. Now she actually took the initiative to talk about cultivation. However, Ninetales really did guide him in cultivation in a serious manner. Ninetales said, "The ice on your body is made of chakra. Feel it carefully and you'll find something." Naruto was speechless. Alright. Ninetales didn't make a move. Naruto couldn't do anything. This was a master. If he said he wanted him to feel it, then he would feel it. As for whether he could feel it or not, Naruto was surprised. Huh? Why doesn't it feel cold when it's frozen? And there's no feeling of suffocation? Could it be that this ice is hot? Chakra can replace breathing? In the space sealed by Ninetales, Naruto looked at Ninetales inquiringly. Ninetales looked at him like he was retarded. Alright. It seemed that at least the ice couldn't be hot. The problem was with him. Ninetales yawned in the cage. "Do you feel it? The ice on your body isn't a threat to your life." Naruto had a guess in his heart. He asked, "Is it because I've fused Ice Ward?" Ninetales said, "Of course." Naruto said, "Then what do you mean when you say it's suitable for cultivation?" Naruto didn't ask, but he understood. It was true that the ice froze his body, but at the same time, it stimulated his body to constantly adapt to the ice attribute. Ninetales closed his eyes. "Do you understand?" Naruto was full of joy. "I understand. Does that mean I'll be able to master Ice Ward soon?" Kyubi raised his eyelids and glanced at the celebrity. The chakra contained in the ice is too little, and the ice chakra produced by this instrument is far from the real ice release Kekkei Genkai, so the stimulation to your body is limited. But being frozen for a year or so shouldn't be a problem. A year and a half. The hope that had just risen was like flying a kite in a thunderstorm. It was crispy on the outside and tender on the inside. It could probably be eaten directly with a sprinkle of cumin sauce. Now that he was facing a great enemy, there was no way he could be frozen for a year and a half. Even if no one disturbed him, being frozen for a year and a half, even if he didn't suffocate to death, he would starve to death. Ninetales saw Naruto's sudden disappointment and mocked. "Why are you so stupid? I've already guided you to this point. Can't your brain work on its own?" Naruto raised his head numbly. "Is it human to stand here for a year and a half? Do you think I'm a lofty cedar or a flag of the people?" Ninetales opened his eyes, and his beard and hair seemed to be blown by the wind. This was a sign of Chakra's restlessness, which meant that Nine Tails was a little impatient. You need a year and a half because the ice layer on your body contains too little chakra. Can't you inject more into it? Isn't the chakra armor on your body able to absorb your chakra? I used to think that you were a little smart. Now that I see you, you're an insult to my eyes. Naruto was stunned by the scolding. But at the same time he suddenly understood. He had a new understanding of Nine Tails, who could come up with this kind of cultivation method. This fox is too damn cool. Naruto then began to refine chakra. Just as Nine Tails said, the chakra armor directly swallowed chakra when it sensed chakra on Naruto's body. Then the ice layer on Naruto's body grew wildly. In the real world, Fonghua Raging Waves saw that the ice layer on Naruto's body thickened and mocked. What a reckless kid. The more you struggle, the thicker the ice layer on your body, and the closer you are to death. Fonghua Snow took out the hexagonal crystal, and shouted at Fonghua Raging Waves. Let him go. I'll give you the hexagonal crystal. Fonghua Raging Waves moved his sword away from Naruto's neck. Oh, then throw the hexagonal crystal to me first, and I'll return this kid to you. Otherwise, if you suddenly go back on your word, wouldn't I lose more than I gain? Fonghua Snow did not hesitate, and directly took off the hexagonal crystal necklace from his neck, and threw it to Fonghua Raging Waves. Fonghua Raging Waves caught it, and carefully confirmed that it was real. He smiled and said, I'll return it to you. As he said that, Fonghua Raging Waves kicked the ice ball that had a diameter of 2 meters. Return it? No, he planned to break the ice ball in front of everyone. In his opinion, anyone who resisted him had to die. Kakashi saw that something was wrong, but the Wolf Fang avalanche in front of him was watching closely. No matter which direction Kakashi moved, it could accurately intercept him. The armor that could absorb chakra and ignore illusions. Even Kakashi did not know what to do. As for Raikiri, he needed time to charge up. Although it was only a few seconds, the Wolf Fang avalanche did not give him that much time. Substitution technique. In this crisis, Kakashi decided to use the substitution technique to replace himself with Naruto. However, this move was seen through by the Wolf Fang avalanche. It suddenly accelerated to Kakashi's side, and interfered with the normal operation of chakra on Kakashi's body. Substitution technique failed. Could it be that he had to watch Naruto die in front of him? Just as Kakashi was in a panic. In the sealed space of Nine Tails, Naruto shouted, Nine Llamas Sensei. Nine Tails did not raise his head or open his eyes as he weakly replied, Coming. Nine Tails' chakra surged out of the cage and wrapped around Naruto. In the real world, the ice layer that was originally 4 to 5 centimeters thick suddenly began to crazily expand as if it was on steroids. It expanded at an extremely fast speed, and the momentum was to freeze Fonghua Raging Waves as well. However, at the critical moment, the chakra armor on Naruto's body made a crisp sound. Creak. Nine Tails' chakra was too violent, completely exceeding the chakra armor's engulfment ability. Therefore, it died in less than a second, not to mention freezing Fonghua Raging Waves. Naruto's feelings towards this could be described in 2 words. F***ck. I'm going to die. Chapter 45. Should he blame Chakra's armor for being too weak? Or should he blame Nine Tails for not knowing how to control his power? He missed a great opportunity to practice ice escape just like that. It was impossible to say that he was not sad. In Nine Tails' sealed space, Nine Tails did not realize this at all. He said coldly, The quality of this Chakra's armor is too bad. It would be great if there was a better one. Naruto's mouth twitched. He was trying to shirk responsibility. However, there was indeed a better one. It was the Chakra's armor that Windflower Raging Waves was wearing. Naruto sighed helplessly. The black Chakra's armor on Windflower Raging Waves is obviously better than his subordinates. You can try using that. Nine Tails closed his eyes again. This guy seemed to like to close his eyes as long as he had nothing to do. He did not know if he was too lazy or just too lazy. Then take that Chakra's armor. Let's experiment again. Nine Tails' chakra faded away. Naruto was stunned. You want me to take it myself? Ninetales said matter-of-factly. You're not in danger now. Of course, you have to do it yourself. Naruto was speechless. He did not know if he should curse in his heart. If he had known this would happen, he would not have talked nonsense. He would have taken advantage of Ninetales' chakra to deal with Windflower Raging Waves directly. What a waste of an excellent opportunity. The conversation between Naruto and Ninetales only lasted for a moment in the real world. At this moment, Windflower Raging Waves was about to kick Naruto's ice sculpture into pieces. However, when he sensed the sudden explosion of chakra in the ice ball, and the sudden increase in the ice layer, Windflower Raging Waves cautiously put down his leg and retreated to the side. As for Naruto, he did not know how to break the 5-meter-thick ice layer. Although the ice was harmless to him due to the fusion of the ice shield, it was not at the level whereby could travel through the ice mirror as he wished. Therefore, if the wind, flowers, and raging waves did not move, Naruto could not move. For a time, the atmosphere was solemn and awkward. Sasuke seized the opportunity. Hinata! The team's tacit understanding finally showed its effect. Sasuke called Hinata, meaning to let Hinata block the Snow Country's female ninja to buy him time. Hinata saw that Sasuke had started to form seals, and knew that Sasuke was going to use Chidori, and understood what Sasuke meant. He used the 64 palms of the 8 trigrams to meet the female ninja of the Snow Country. Because of Chakra's barrier, Hinata's gentle punch couldn't penetrate Chakra's body, but the fierce attack still held the ninja back. Sasuke stared at the Wolf Fang avalanche. Sharingan. Lightning gathered in his hand. Sasuke. Lightning release, Chidori. With a sharp bird-like cry, Sasuke turned into an arc and successfully hit the Wolf Fang avalanche. Kakashi took this opportunity to appear in front of Naruto with body flicker technique. The mechanical wings behind the Snow Country's female ninja suddenly unfolded, and she rose into the air and released ninjutsu to Kakashi. Ice release, swallow snow. The snow-carved swallow condensed from the water vapor in the air, and the extremely cold temperature, and flew toward Kakashi. Kakashi copied the Sharingan and used the same trick. Kakashi. Ice release, swallow snow. The Wolf Fang avalanche took Sasuke's Chidori head-on. Chakra's barrier was broken, but she still had the mood to ridicule Kakashi. Kakashi, the copied ninjutsu can't defeat us. In contrast, the little guy behind you who uses lightning release is a bit interesting. Kakashi didn't look back. Is it? But I have achieved the effect I wanted. At this time, Naruto's voice sounded. Thank you, Kakashi-sensei, we are finally saved. Everyone was surprised, and then they understood. The ice release ninjutsu of the Snow Country was not a real ice release ninjutsu. It was just using chakra to control the ice around her, or using the extremely cold weather to condense water into ice to form a certain attack. Kakashi used this feature to copy the ice release ninjutsu of the Snow Country's female ninja, and then used the ice on Naruto's body to freeze it. The result was that the ice on Naruto's body turned into the so-called ice release attack, and Naruto was saved. Feng Huanutao's eyes turned cold, but he still insisted that everything was under his control. Humph. It's just a little trick. You think you can save this kid like this? Then I'll let him freeze again. With that, Feng Huanutao raised his right hand and pressed the mechanism on his left arm. Click. However, this time nothing happened. Naruto raised a handful of self-destruct talismans, and the number was so many that it looked like snow. Naruto's hand seals. Multiple shadow clone jutsu. 50 clones, 40 low-level self-destruct talismans, and 10 high-level self-destruct talismans were divided in the blink of an eye. Then Feng Huanutao and the Wolf Fang avalanche rushed away. Feng Huanutao was still in shock from the controller malfunction. How is this possible? Why didn't the chakra armor react? Naruto grinned. Sorry, your broken armor was accidentally broken by me. At the same time, a Naruto clone came to Feng Huanutao's side and self-destructed with a loud bang. Feng Huanutao forced himself to be calm and grinned. It's useless. You can't break my chakra shield. The chakra shield on my body is the latest model. Naruto. Oh? Then I'll give it a try. 3 Naruto clones surrounded Feng Huanutao from 3 directions, and then self-destructed. Kakashi shouted, Naruto. Ever since he saw Naruto throw a bunch of self-destruct talismans into the sky, Kakashi regretted saving Naruto. But it was too late to say anything now. The 3 clones self-destructed, and the soaring flames had already blown away the roof of the Snow Country Palace. At this time, Kakashi could only protect Feng Huanutao so that he wouldn't be affected. At the same time, he ordered Sasuke and Hinata to retreat. Feng Huanutao was blown up twice in a row. Although his body was fine with the chakra shield, his head was still buzzing from the loud explosions. At this time he was angry. Bastard! You think this kind of attack will work on me? Let me destroy all of your clones. Feng Huanutao put down the sword in his hand. His hands quickly formed seals. Ice release, double dragon storm kill. He finally put down his sword. Now was the time. Naruto's clone, a clone with a high-level self-destruct talisman, instantly used a substitute. He swapped with the green sleeve sword on the ground. The green sleeve sword returned to its sheath. Naruto used the substitution technique to escape. The remaining clones stuck the self-destruct talismans in their hands on the palace at the same time. Either the ground, the stone pillars, or the high walls. Then he immediately removed the clone. Naruto, who escaped from the palace, formed a seal with one hand. Explode! More than 40 self-destruct talismans detonated at the same time. The entire palace of the Snow Country was like a blooming firework. It was razed to the ground in an instant. The earth was trembling. More than one avalanche was triggered in the surrounding snow mountains, and the rumbling sound was endless. Kakashi and the others looked at this scene from afar, and commented with dead fish eyes. This is a mad dog. Hinata's face was full of worry. Naruto-kun. Sasuke, with one strike of Chidori, had used up a lot of strength. Then it was a desperate attack. At this time, he was squatting on the ground as tired as a dead dog. His eyes rolled, but it could be seen from his expression that he agreed with Kakashi's evaluation of Naruto. An ordinary self-destruct talisman, the power was only Chunin's ordinary attack. 5 of them together could reach the level of Jonin. 4 of them were used before, and the remaining 36 were in groups of 5, which was the attack of 7 Jonin. As for the high-level self-destruct talisman, one was worth tens of thousands of taels, and one was the full blow of a Jonin. 10 high-level self-destruct talismans and 36 low-level self-destruct talismans. The effect of the explosion was naturally extraordinary. Thick smoke filled the ruins, and flames were faintly discernible. Naruto turned back and carried the green sleeve sword, and found the windflower raging waves that had been blown up to smelling of meat. Windflower raging waves was covered in blood, and there were many burns on his body. While in pain he cursed, "Bastard, I will definitely not let you go." Naruto tilted his head, and his expression was disdainful. "You want to compete with me? When I'm ruthless, even wolves are afraid of me." As he spoke, he swung his sword towards the Windflower Raging Wave's neck. Windflower Raging Waves roared, and his face was filled with fear. It was unknown whether he was choked by the smoke or really scared, but he actually cried bitterly. Wait. No, it should be fear, because Naruto smelled the stench of urine. The sword stopped in midair for a moment. "Naruto, do you have any last words?" Windflower Raging Wave's tears, his expression panicked. "Save me once. I'm willing to pay any price, even if you want me to give you the Snow Country." Naruto raised the green sleeve sword and slashed down again. This time, no matter how miserably the Windflower Raging Wave screamed, he did not stop. The blade of the sword cut through the Windflower Raging Wave's neck, and his head rolled to the side like a rolling ball. Naruto sneered. "Trash, you don't have the awareness of death. What kind of villain are you?" Chapter 46. When Feng Hua Raging Waves died, Naruto was about to take off the black armor on his body. In the explosion, the armor's chakra shield was shattered, but the armor was still intact. It was clear that it was a good item. However, after thinking about it, he gave up. If he took away Chakra's armor now, Kakashi and Feng Hua Raging Waves would notice it when they arrived. It was better to wait until everything was over, and see if he could directly take it from Feng Hua Raging Waves. Moreover, The chakra's armor on Fenghua Raging Waves was too big for him to wear. In the sealed space of Ninetail's chakra spread out from the cage and came into contact with Fenghua Raging Wave's soul. Ninetails let out a sigh of relief. This guy is of the wind attribute. Devour him. Naruto nodded. Fenghua Raging Wave's ultimate move before he died was called something like Twin Dragon Storm. From the name, one could tell that it was a move that focused on the wind attribute of chakra, so it was not surprising. Naruto pressed his hand on Fenghua Raging Wave's body. Fenghua Raging Wave's soul twisted and turned into water that flowed into Naruto's soul. Naruto had a satisfied smile on his face. I realize that I'm about to be infatuated with this feeling. This feeling hiss Aya, comfortable. Teacher Nine Llamas, I think we need to be honest about what happened the last time I fused with the ice attribute. Ninetails raised his head and narrowed his eyes. A pair of fiery red vertical pupils stared at Naruto. What do you mean? Naruto said seriously. Teacher Nine Llamas has already saved me twice. In addition, you usually guide me in my cultivation. Although the process was due to various reasons, I am truly indebted to you. Therefore, in my heart, I really treat you as a teacher. Therefore, I feel that we don't need to be too secretive. We can consider being more open. Ninetails wanted to see something from Naruto's face, but there was only a rare calmness on Naruto's face. Naruto shrugged. Of course, if you don't want to say it, I can't force you. However, I can see that Teacher Ninth Llamas seems to be very worried about me fusing a new attribute. How about this? I promise that I won't fuse a new attribute unless it's absolutely necessary. After all, I already have 4 attributes. Yang, wind, water, and ice. Chakra's nature transformation is much more difficult than I thought. Just learning and mastering it will take a long time, so I'm not in a hurry to fuse with other attributes. Ninetails was still staring at Naruto's eyes. Those huge fiery red pupils reflected the image of Naruto's entire body, as if he wanted to see through Naruto. Are you telling the truth? Naruto nodded. Yes, I won't let go of those who hurt me, and at the same time, I won't deceive those who have helped me. Teacher Ninth Llamas has always been kind to me, so I won't do anything to repay kindness with enmity. Of course, I'm a man born in the year of the dog. I can turn hostile faster than anyone else. If Teacher Ninth Llamas does anything to hurt me, I'll immediately turn hostile. Ninetails' eyes gradually opened, and the restless chakra on his body calmed down slightly. Ha! You're an interesting kid. This is the first time I've heard someone say that they were born in the year of the dog. Ninetails still didn't say what happened when he fused with Ice Ward. Naruto didn't ask, and only said his guess about the mark on his forehead. Naruto pointed at the mark on his forehead and said, "But Teacher Ninth Llamas, I still care a lot about this mark. I've fused 2 of the 5 basic chakra attributes in the pentagram mark. The 2 sharp corners of the pentagram have a stream of golden light twining around them. I don't think this is a coincidence. When I'm able to master the chakra attributes that I'm currently fusing, I should continue to try fusing other attributes to find out what this mark is. Though, Teacher Ninth Llamas, it's better if you tell me what happened to me. This way, if there are any problems, we can think of a way to solve them together." After Naruto finished speaking, he couldn't help but feel a lot more relaxed. Next, it was up to Ninetails' reaction. Ninetails stared at Naruto for a long time before lowering his head and lying back in the cage. He replied, "Then we'll talk about it when you've mastered the 4 chakra attributes." He still didn't get any useful information, but it was expected. Naruto changed the topic and said, "Teacher Ninth Llamas, I only found Windflower Raging Waves in the ruins. The other 2 are missing. Can you sense them?" Ninetails replied without raising his head and eyes. "I can only sense the people who are lurking in the dark and want to kill you. I can't help you with anything else unless you let me out." Naruto curled his lips. That's harder than finding the other 2. His consciousness withdrew from Ninetails' sealed space. Naruto sent out 800 doppelgangers to search the ruins, but in the end, they found nothing. It seemed that the other 2 had taken the opportunity to escape. When the fire and smoke in the ruins subsided, Kakashi rushed over and looked at the rolling head on the ground with some surprise. "You killed Windflower Raging Waves?" There was no need to check Windflower Raging Wave's corpse. Since his head was missing, he was naturally dead. Naruto replied. That guy died in the explosion. I was afraid that he would fake his death again, so I chopped his head off. Kakashi. At the same time, Naruto reported the inspection of the palace ruins and the underground palace to Kakashi. Also, Windflower Raging Wave's two subordinates, Crane Wing Blowing Snow and Wolf Lord Avalanche, are missing. They probably escaped before the explosion. Kakashi looked around and lamented Naruto's recklessness. A perfectly good palace had been blown up just like that. He said, for Windflower Little Snow's safety, these two people must be found. Then Sasuke and Hinata arrived and thoroughly searched the scene again. With Hinata's supercilious eyes, the process was very convenient. With a glance, they had a rough idea of the situation. At the same time, they also calculated the casualties of the people in the palace. Surprisingly, no one had died in this huge explosion. Kakashi looked at Naruto and didn't say anything. At this time, Windflower Little Snow clearly let out a sigh of relief. After that, Kakashi patted Naruto's shoulder and said, "You did well." What did he do well? Was it cutting off Windflower Raging Wave's head? Or sealing all the corpses before Windflower Little Snow arrived? Or was it both? In the following month, everyone protected Windflower Little Snow's safety, while searching for the two people who had escaped. Naruto and Hinata were in charge of protecting Windflower Little Snow. Kakashi and Sasuke were in charge of tracking down the two ninjas who had escaped. They didn't know the details, but the result was that Kakashi and Sasuke returned with the two corpses. Both times, Sasuke had injuries on his body. Clearly, he had been through a lot of battles. Because the corpses had been dead for too long, Naruto wasn't present when they were killed. When Naruto touched the corpses again, he didn't get anything. At this point, everyone's mission could be considered completed. The night before they left, Windflower Little Snow found Naruto to talk alone. Windflower Little Snow handed the modified chakra armor to Naruto. Here, this chakra armor has been modified. Naruto took the armor that had greatly changed in size and measured it. It was just right for him. Naruto was overjoyed and sincerely said, "Thank you very much. This has helped me a lot." With this armor, he could happily cultivate the ice element. Windflower Little Snow said seriously, "This is nothing compared to you saving Sama-san and the others. If you have any other conditions, feel free to state them." Naruto was currently measuring the chakra armor. His eyes were full of stars. He couldn't wait to start cultivating the ice element. "No, I don't. When I was frozen, didn't you happily take out the hexagonal crystal? So we don't owe each other anything." Windflower Little Snow hesitated. "But the hexagonal crystal didn't save you. Raging Wave still attacked you." Naruto waved his hand. "That's Raging Wave's problem. He already paid the price with his life. It's not your fault." Windflower Little Snow smiled. "You're such a gentle person." Windflower Little Snow was a superstar. Her smile was very beautiful. Naruto put down the chakra armor in his hand. "This is the first time someone has said that to me. And it's a princess and superstar. I'm flattered." Windflower Little Snow snorted. "Flattered? Why didn't I feel it? You actually rejected the princess last time. I thought you were very arrogant." Naruto said no. "I actually wanted the princess to give me a kiss. But I was afraid that you'd kill me if I said it out loud." This was originally a joke. Unexpectedly, Windflower Little Snow really lowered her head and kissed Naruto on the forehead. Naruto's brain went blank for a moment. He muttered in his heart, "It's over. I cheated." Windflower Little Snow turned around and left. "Okay, I've fulfilled your wish. Now we don't owe each other anything." Naruto's brain was still in a daze. He muttered to himself, "A kiss in exchange for the lives of 50 loyal warriors? Princess Little Snow's kiss is really valuable." Windflower Little Snow winked playfully. Of course. This was a kiss bestowed by the princess. She was about to open the door and leave. Naruto stopped her. "Wait." Windflower Little Snow stopped and turned around. Is there anything else? I don't owe you anything now," Naruto said seriously. The hexagonal crystal on you is the most precious gift your father prepared for you. Take it to the rainbow ice wall. There's a mechanism there. Open it, and there'll be an unexpected surprise. Windflower Little Snow was stunned. She didn't expect Naruto to talk about the hexagonal crystal. She was a little confused. Isn't this hexagonal crystal the key to the secret treasure? Naruto. No, it's even more precious than the secret treasure. It can bring spring to the snow country. She scratched her head. Also, can you give me your autograph? I'll get an autograph for Hinata to make up for my mistake. Chapter 47. Snow Country Rainbow Ice Wall. It got its name because it refracted the light of the rainbow. In fact, it was 6 huge stone tablets that were 10 meters tall. The stone tablets were not connected, and there was one every 5 meters. They were built in a circle and stood in the ice and snow. It was obvious that they were man-made, but no one knew what they were for. Windflower Snow and Taitu-sama came to the bottom of the ice wall and found a high platform that looked like an altar in the middle of the 6 ice walls. There was a groove on the platform that matched Windflower Snow's hexagonal crystal perfectly. Taitu-sama hesitated. Princess Snow, do we really not need to gather more people? After interrogating Windflower Raging Waves, we found out that this is a secret treasure. Windflower Snow looked at the groove. No need. Naruto said that there are no treasures here. I believe him. Taitu-sama frowned. What exactly is the rainbow ice wall? None of us in the snow country know. This is the first time that little guy came to the snow country. How can we believe what he said? Windflower Snow smiled. What you say makes sense, but I believe him. As she spoke, Windflower Snow put the hexagonal crystal into the groove. Crack, 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 crack. The sound of ice cracking could be heard. Taitu-sama suddenly became nervous and stood in front of Windflower Snow. Princess Snow. Windflower Snow raised her hand and listened carefully. Soon, she found that the ice cracked on the 3 huge ice walls in front of her, and the 3 ice walls behind her. To be precise, it was the ice on the surface. Soon the ice layer cracked wider and wider. With a crash, the ice on the ice walls completely shattered, revealing the ancient stone inside. The surface of the 6 huge stones was as smooth as a mirror, with mysterious patterns. Soon the ice and snow around them began to melt. Then it became faster and faster, spreading out in all directions. A huge chakra swept across the ice and snow around them. Soon, the sound of running water could be heard. Taitu-sama looked at the ice and snow around him that was melting at a speed visible to the naked eye. This is. Windflower Snow covered her mouth in shock. What Naruto told her was true. The treasure here could really bring spring to the snow country. At the same time, a huge projection suddenly appeared in the middle of the 6 stone walls. Fonghua Snow's eyes widened in disbelief. It was her and her father when she was young. Early Snow. You must believe in the future. That way, spring will definitely come. What does Xiaoxua want to do after spring? Little Snow was a porcelain doll when she was young. She wore a beautiful cherry-red kimono and had a pure smile on her face. Little Snow wants to be a princess. Fonghua Xiaoxua looked at her daughter gently. What kind of princess? Snowy thought seriously and said, I want to be a gentle, strong, and righteous princess. Looking at herself in the projection, Fonghua Snowy was stunned. I once said something like that. When Early Snow heard this, she laughed proudly. Ahahaha, that's very difficult. However, if you turn your dreams into beliefs and continue to pursue them without giving up, your dreams will definitely come true. In the projection, Early Snow put the hexagonal crystal on Fonghua Snow. Then she patted Fonghua Snow's shoulder and said, The beautiful princess is standing here. Fonghua Snow's expression was troubled. But Little Snow is still troubled by something. Because I still have a dream. Early Snow was confused. Oh, what is it? Another dream? Fonghua Snow's eyes sparkled. An actress. Early Snow was stunned. Then she laughed even more happily. Ha 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 ha. The projection disappeared, but Fonghua Snow's tears could not stop flowing. Now her childhood dream had come true, but her father was no longer here. If all of this did not have that laughable ambition of hers, then she should be able to stand with her father and admire the spring of the snow country, right? Third Taigu stared at the projection across time and space and the 6 rainbow walls. Princess Xiaoxue, this is, Feng Hua Snow wiped the tears on her face. This is the most precious treasure that my father left for the snow country. At the same time, Naruto and the others had already boarded the car, and were on their way out of the snow country. At this moment, the car was refueling. Naruto opened the envelope that Feng Hua Snow had given him. Inside was Feng Hua Snow's signature that Naruto had asked for Hinata. However, the moment he opened the envelope, Naruto was dumbfounded. It was indeed a signature. However, it was signed on the photo of Feng Hua Snow kissing Naruto's forehead. When was this photo taken? When Feng Hua Snow kissed him, Naruto did not remember anyone else being present. Could it be that there was a surveillance device in that room? Naruto-kun. Hinata's voice sounded from outside the car. Just now, Naruto had told Hinata that he had something to give Hinata. Thus, he had asked Hinata to wait outside the car. What should he do now? No matter what, he could not let Hinata see this signed photo. Otherwise, the budding love between the two of them would be destroyed by his own hands. Don't think that weak women are easy to bully. When it comes to relationships, every woman is a leopard. If you don't touch them, you'll be bitten. This was the lesson that Naruto had learned from his previous life. Naruto stuffed the signed photo into the envelope as quickly as possible. He hid it in the bottom of his backpack, and quickly thought of a countermeasure. Naruto-kun? Naruto braced himself and walked out of the car. He laughed and said, "Ah, the thing that I wanted to give to Hinata is gone. I'll give it to you when I find it." Hinata nodded obediently. "Oh, so it's like that, it's okay." At this moment, Kakashi walked over. Kakashi waved at Hinata. "Hinata, I have a gift here." Kakashi took out a card and handed it to Hinata. Chuyin glanced at it. It was Feng Hua Snow's signature. However, Naruto's special edition was different. Below Hinata's signature was a group photo of everyone. There was Feng Hua Snow, Asama-san Taisui, Princess Feng Yun's director, and Kakashi's team of 4. It was worth mentioning that the director found Naruto before Naruto's team left. He said that if Naruto wanted to be a celebrity, he could contact him at any time. Naruto was originally very happy when he heard this. However, he later found out from the other staff members that the director looked for him because of his shadow clone technique and transformation technique. In the future, there would be no shortage of extras. This made Naruto disappointed for a while. Kakashi continued to distribute the signed photos. "I asked Princess Xiaoxue for you guys. Sasuke, this is yours." Sasuke glanced over, and was called over by Kakashi. He took the signed photo. Kakashi and the other 2's signed photos were all different. Everyone passed them around. Hinata realized that Naruto's was not there. She asked, "Why isn't Naruto's?" Kakashi said casually, "Ah, Naruto's." Princess Xiaoxue said that Naruto's had already been given to him. F***ck your mother. When Naruto heard this, he even had the urge to kill Kakashi. He really touched a sore spot. He couldn't even avoid it in time. He actually came back to the topic. Hinata looked at Naruto with sparkling eyes and asked, "Naruto-kun? What's yours like?" Naruto laughed. "Ah, I originally asked for it for Hinata, but I don't know where it went." Hinata's eyes shone even brighter. She said in surprise, "Is it for me? Thank you so much. Naruto-kun is the best." Naruto laughed dryly. Ha. Ha ha ha. Hinata. "Then let me help you look for it. It's very convenient for me to use Supernova." With that, Hinata activated her Byakugan. She glanced at the car. F***ck. This is bad. Naruto's mouth twitched and half of his face started to distort. "You don't have to use so much effort. I'll quickly." Hinata found it in the backpack. F***ck. Naruto's body stiffened and he raised his hand to stop her. However, Hinata had already entered the carriage in a flash. She took out the envelope. Naruto. "No." Before he could finish, the envelope had already been opened. Usually, Hinata wouldn't be so excited and reckless, but after becoming a fan of Kazekawa Koyuki, she couldn't help but feel excited about her idol. The envelope was opened in front of everyone. The image of wind and snow kissing Naruto's forehead was reflected in everyone's eyes. Kakashi, Sasuke. Oh, Naruto closed his eyes. Hinata exclaimed, "Wow, Princess Snow is so gentle." Naruto opened his eyes slightly. Seeing that Hinata didn't seem angry at all, he was puzzled. Was this the effect of being a fan? Already Hinata turned to Naruto and said, "This autograph is for me?" Naruto nodded dumbly. "Ah." Hinata smiled. "Then I'll accept it." Then, she happily turned around and returned to her car. Naruto heaved a sigh of relief and muttered to himself, "Seems like I've dodged a bullet." Kakashi tried to mock him. "Do you think Hinata isn't angry? Actually, Hinata just doesn't want you to keep that photo." Naruto. Chapter 48. From the port of the Snow Country, he boarded the ship to the Fire Country. At this time, Naruto's strength had reached the standard of the first Hashimen Tanku, but he didn't rush to open the first gate. The main reason was that he was afraid of being discovered by Kakashi when he opened the gate. After all, the Hashimen Tanku was a forbidden technique that only Jonin could touch with permission. Naruto didn't want others to know that he learned other ninjutsu from the forbidden technique scroll in addition to the multiple shadow clone technique. That would definitely lead to all kinds of speculation, and he would be heavily guarded. After his strength reached the requirements of the first Hashimen Tanku, Naruto focused on the cultivation of the water attribute chakra nature change. With the help of Kakashi, Naruto's affinity for the water attribute was getting higher and higher. One day, after the hydrotherapy, Naruto called Kakashi's water attribute chakra nature change cultivation of the water attribute chakra as hydrotherapy. Kakashi suggested, "Naruto, your affinity for the water attribute chakra nature change is very good now. You can try to learn C-class and above water release ninjutsu." Naruto sat up from the bathtub shirtless wearing boxers. The water in the bathtub made by the water attribute chakra began to dissipate little by little after Kakashi stopped sending chakra. Naruto stretched and then seriously said, "I don't want to learn water release ninjutsu yet. I want to fuse the water attribute and wind attribute chakra nature change into ice release." Exposing the matter of ice release was a decision made by Naruto after careful consideration. Originally, Naruto planned to hide it and use ice release as a trump card. But later Naruto found out. Hashimen Tanku must be hidden because its origin cannot be explained. Rasengan must be hidden because it is troublesome to explain, and showing too much talent to attract the attention of others is not good for him. If he continued to hide his ice escape, then the only ability he had left was multiple shadow clone. The shadow doppelganger was good for escaping and scouting, but it had almost no destructive power. He couldn't keep using the doppelganger explosion style, right? It wasn't a problem to use it, but it would burn money. To deal with the windflower raging waves, 10 high-grade detonation talismans were worth 100,000 taels. Naruto only had a total of 5 million taels of silver in his savings. In exchange for high-grade detonation talismans, there were only 500 of them. Only an idiot would do something like that if he didn't earn as much as he spent. Naruto didn't think of himself as an idiot. Therefore, after careful consideration, Naruto decided to reveal his ice escape. It just so happened that he was still in the process of cultivating the ice escape. Using it often would be very beneficial for his cultivation. It was not conducive to the improvement of one's strength if one kept hiding and working behind closed doors. Naruto. Kakashi opened his mouth, organized his words, and then continued. Although the wind and water attributes of chakra can theoretically be fused into the ice attribute, but I can responsibly say that this road is not going to work. You must not use the ice escape used by those fools in the snow country as a reference. Their ninjutsu can only be used in places covered with ice and snow, and in extremely cold weather. They also have that special chakra armor. Let me explain it to you. In order not to let his student go astray, Kakashi decided to carefully explain to Naruto the ice escape of those fools in the snow country. The ice release ninjutsu of the snow country is actually a different kind of manipulation of the water attribute. by injecting chakra into the ice and snow, changing the shape of the ice and snow to make a simulated attack. Kakashi's hand seals. Ice release. Horn of the white whale technique. However, nothing happened. No. To be precise, there were still some changes. On the surface of the sea where no one had noticed, when Kakashi was casting his spell, a soft head of a baby whale made of water appeared. However, the baby whale didn't manage to squeeze itself out of the water. Instead, it made a series of bubbles and died in regret. Kakashi, see, out of the snow country, this powerful ice release ninjutsu can't be used at all. So don't waste time. Naruto nodded seriously, but his mouth said, but I still want to try. Kakashi still wanted to dissuade him, but he opened his mouth and swallowed the words back down. He thought, it's good to let Naruto try. Failure is a kind of growth. Naruto left and Sasuke on the side asked, Kakashi-sensei, is it really impossible to cultivate Kekii Genkai? Kakashi, you can't say that. The source of ice release Kekii Genkai is actually cultivated by people, but that kind of person is destined to be a Kage level, a real genius. Sasuke looked at the direction Naruto left and concluded. In other words, Naruto can't cultivate it anyway? Kakashi nodded with certainty. Of course, because even Sandame Naruto didn't succeed. Naruto is just wasting time now. I just hope he won't waste too much time in this regard. However, on the third day of this sentence, Naruto found Kakashi and demonstrated the process of fusing the wind attribute chakra and the water attribute chakra into snow. After seeing this, Kakashi's worldview was suddenly turned upside down. That day, Kakashi locked himself in the cabin and began to try to fuse the water attribute chakra and the lightning attribute. For an entire week, not even a fart was produced. Instead, there were several shocking explosions. They almost directly sank the ship. The last explosion was also the most serious one, and the mast of the ship was blown off. Naruto, Sasuke, Hinata, and the entire crew found Kakashi. At this point, Kakashi finally stopped this dangerous cultivation. But Kakashi said, I think I almost succeeded. Naruto, Sasuke, Hinata. To be honest, Naruto regretted demonstrating the snowflake in front of Kakashi. Now he couldn't sleep well every night, afraid that when he woke up after falling asleep, Kakashi would blow up the ship. Another week passed, and Kakashi found Naruto to ask about the progress of his cultivation. Naruto hesitated for a moment, but still demonstrated it. He raised his hands, palms facing outwards and fingers facing each other. The water attribute chakra condensed in his left hand, and the wind attribute chakra condensed in his right hand. The two attributes of chakra condensed together, and an icicle as thick as a fist condensed. Then fired. The speed wasn't slow, because the icicle was condensed by chakra. It ignored gravity and shot out 200 meters in parallel. Then, because the structure was unstable, it turned back into chakra and disappeared in the air. Kakashi stared blankly at the place where the icicle disappeared for a long time. His eyes burned with a fiery light. Naruto's heart skipped a beat, and he muttered to himself, this is bad. He hurriedly tried to salvage the situation. Kakashi-sensei, you're not going to try it again, are you? Kakashi's cultivation always ended with an explosion. It was really shocking. Kakashi raised his hand and touched his nose through the mask. No, I'll try it again when we get ashore. Should I choose to believe him? Looking at Kakashi's departing figure, Naruto felt that it was better to make some preparations. Naruto also informed Sasuke and Hinata of this matter. That night, the three of them couldn't sleep. They looked at the sky together on the deck, and decided to abandon the ship and escape if anything went wrong. Hinata activated her supercilious eyes and glanced at Kakashi's room. Oh no, Kakashi-sensei is starting again. Should we go and wait? Naruto and Sasuke both took a step back in the direction of Kakashi's room. Naruto held on to a sliver of hope. It might not explode every time. Just as he said this, an earth-shattering explosion sounded from Kakashi's room again. Naruto, Sasuke, and Hinata quickly left the ship. Flames soared into the sky, and the mast that had been repaired not long ago collapsed once again. Kakashi used his teleportation technique to dodge the explosion, and rushed to the surface of the sea, where he collided with the three of them. Naruto's expression darkened. Kakashi-sensei, you said that we'd get ashore. Kakashi yawned. It was a mistake. Actually, we almost succeeded this time. Naruto, Sasuke, Hinata, hurry up and get ashore. Otherwise you'll die in the sea sooner or later. The three of them screamed in their hearts. Chapter 49. A month later, the three of them finally ended their nightmarish journey at sea. At the moment of landing, for the first time, everyone felt that standing on the ground was so stable. Then another week later, everyone returned to Woodleaf under the morning dew. Woodleaf Ninja Village, Naruto's office. Kakashi finished his report on the Snow Country mission. When Sandame Naruto heard that they encountered 2 Chunin and 2 Genin in this mission, the corner of his eyes twitched. This is the second time, right? The first mission in the Wave Country he had nothing to say. Encountering such a hot-blooded person who wanted to serve the people and build bridges, no matter who it was, he could only do that. But this time, there was such a problem. Killing 2 Chunin and 2 Chunin, protecting the princess and leading the Snow Country's samurai to start a coup. This is already an S-level mission. Sandame Naruto wanted to ask why the mission changed as soon as it was given to your class. Is it because you are too unlucky, or you are too good at it? However, the words were already on the tip of his tongue, and he was too lazy to ask. Woodleaf had received the mission of the Snow Country once, and that was also carried out by Kakashi. The mission content was to take Konoha and leave the Snow Country. Last time he brought her out, and this time he sent her back. Well, if the Snow Country wasn't so far away from Konoha, and it was separated by the sea, then this mission involved the promotion of diplomacy. It would have added points. Sandame Naruto tapped his finger on the table and said, "This time you have worked hard. The mission reward will be based on the mission score, and will be added to next month's allowance." At the same time, according to the excellent performance of the Wave Country mission, and the perfect completion of this mission, you 3 are eligible to participate in the Chunin exam held in 2 months. During this time, you must not slack off, and prepare well to be promoted to Chunin and fight for Woodleaf's honor. In the last part of the Chunin exam, the nobles and celebrities of all countries will be invited to participate, and it will affect how many missions the village will receive in the future. So you must take it seriously. Well, if there is no problem, you 3 go down and have a good rest. Kakashi will stay. In 2 months, the Chunin exam will be held? In other words, Sandame will die in 2 months? Naruto looked at Sandame with pity, and then quietly left. He didn't hate Sandame Naruto, but he definitely didn't like him. Therefore, there was no need for him to get involved in this mess, and there was no need for him to stupidly run over to inform them. If he really did that, then the first one to be locked up and interrogated like a criminal would be him. Under the Hokage building, Sasuke waved his hand and left directly. Hinata solemnly said goodbye to Naruto. Naruto-kun then. I'll go back first. See you tomorrow. Naruto smiled and said goodbye. Have a good rest, see you tomorrow. Then he watched as Hinata walked into the not very thick fog. He watched as she looked back secretly like a little fox, and when she was discovered, she immediately turned her head back shyly. Then, she sped up and disappeared into the morning fog. Naruto grinned. Hinata's shyness had always been a cute scene. Then, he took a deep breath, inhaling the damp air with the faint fragrance of the soil and flowers into his lungs. It was the smell of moss growing in the shadows on both sides of the mud road, and some wildflowers mixed together. It was very fresh, and after smelling it, he couldn't help but feel a little lazy. Then he stretched and walked back home. After the weight on his body reached the requirement to open the first door, Naruto had always wanted to open the first door. Now that he finally got rid of Kakashi, he couldn't wait anymore. On the way home, Ninetales suddenly said, "Someone is secretly following you." "Following me? Who could it be?" "Naruto. Is it the Umbu ninja in charge of surveillance?" Ninetales. "I don't know about this, I can only sense his malice. He is 200 meters away from you. You can look for him yourself." 200 meters wasn't wide, and there were only 3 or 4 people on this street. Well, the biggest possibility was that that guy wasn't among the few people that he could see, Naruto walked into a fruit shop nearby. After buying some fruits, he walked home as if there was no one else around. After walking for 5 minutes and crossing 2 streets, Naruto finally found the person who was following him. Silver gray hair and a ponytail, round eyes, it was Do, who was a spy in Woodleaf. Naruto found out that Do's method was very simple. When buying fruits, Naruto used Shadow Clone Jutsu and Transformation Jutsu. The one walking in front with the fruit in his hand was the clone, while the main body turned into a passerby and observed from behind. Naruto's clone returned home. Do, who was secretly following him, picked up 2 notes, then turned and left. The fog in the morning always dissipated quickly, and the fog was gone in 7 or 8 minutes on the way home. Should I follow him and take a look? Naruto was a little tempted. Maybe he could find something amazing? The result disappointed Naruto. Do just walked around Sasuke's house, and then ran to a place called Medical Ninja Training Center. Back home, Naruto communicated with Ninetales telepathically. Ninetales-sensei, is there someone watching outside this house? Ninetales, there has always been. Naruto suddenly had the urge to pull out all the people in the dark. The feeling of being watched was not a good feeling, but after thinking about it, he decided not to. But this didn't mean that he wouldn't find some fun for those people. Naruto made a seal with his hands, multiple shadow clone technique. 50 clones appeared around him, and 30 Naruto went shopping under Naruto's instructions. Some went shopping, some went shopping, some went shopping, and some went to every street in all directions. Naruto, who stayed at home, cleaned and took out the garbage. Naruto proudly looked at the clones scattered around. If you want to monitor me, TSK, then send 10 times more people. You weak chickens, I'll let you see the horror of multiple shadow clones. As for Naruto's main body, he hid in the bathroom and began to open the first gate of the 8 inner hidden gates. The first gate of the 8 inner hidden gates. Open the door. Position, left brain. Effect, remove the restrictions of the brain, stimulate 100% of the body's potential, overload the body's energy, thereby increasing attack power and speed. Stimulate 100% of the body's potential, including vision, hearing, smell, taste, touch, the potential of the 5 senses, as well as the body's metabolic rate, muscle strength, blood flow, and many other aspects. According to the scroll, the process of opening acupoints would be accompanied by great pain, which could be broken through by willpower. But when the body's restrictions were removed, once the bones and muscles couldn't withstand the pain, the bones would be displaced and the tendons would break, bones would collapse, and paralysis would occur. Therefore, the most important thing in the cultivation of the 8 inner hidden gates wasn't to open the gate, but to train a strong body that could withstand opening the gate. Naruto sat on a chair cushion brought in from outside, and entered a meditative state. He felt the flow of chakra and found the location of the first gate according to the scroll. Then he controlled chakra and opened the acupoint. Naruto shouted, and at the same time cheered himself on. Open! Severe pain came. It was as if he had been hit by a powerful illusion. However, this was not enough for Naruto, who had been ravaged by the 22 detonation talismans. Naruto, who was possessed by the masochist god, controlled chakra to attack his acupuncture points again and again. Finally, on his 9th attempt, he successfully broke through the first gate. For a moment, Naruto felt a buzzing sound in his head. Auditory amplification. Originally, the sound of the clock's movement was like the sound of iron being forged. Pung. Bang. Bang. The phone kept ringing. Great sense of smell. The originally tasteless toilet instantly became suffocatingly smelly. These were not the worst. The most uncomfortable thing was the tactile method. The fine hairs on his skin usually didn't feel anything, but now the faint airflow brought about by the ventilation fan blew past him. She felt as if thousands of little hands were tickling her body. It was incomparably uncomfortable. Naruto didn't try to eat anything, but he knew that the consequences wouldn't be pleasant, so he didn't want to try. The moment Naruto opened his eyes, visual magnification. Light rushed into his eyes. It was obviously just a faint reflection of the sun in the room, but it gave people the feeling of being blinded. Tears flowed out along with it. In summary, Naruto felt terrible after opening the first gate. Naruto tried to stand up from the ground, and the restriction on his strength was lifted. The result was that he lost control of his strength. Naruto stood up, and then with a whoosh, his left foot tripped his right foot. However, with his strengthened reflexes, Naruto reacted quickly, and he didn't fall down like a dog eating feces. Falling down like a dog eating feces in the toilet, just thinking about it was scary. Naruto complained, "Motherf asterisk cur. Which bastard invented the 8 inner hidden gates? This is simply looking for trouble for himself." However, the discomfort was real, but the increase in strength was also real. Chapter 50. Hashimen Tanku opened for 10 seconds. Naruto found that his body gradually adapted to the current situation and became less uncomfortable. His vision became clearer and didn't feel dazzling. His hearing was still sensitive, but the sound was relatively low. His sense of smell was still unbearable. Did he not flush the toilet? Naruto looked carefully and finally found that it wasn't the toilet, but a rotten apple in the corner. He tied the rotten apple in his pocket, sprinkled some detergent on the floor, and cleaned it again. His sense of smell was also within the tolerable range. His sense of touch was slightly unaccustomed, but he could forcibly ignore it. It was like being bitten by a mosquito. As long as his willpower was strong, he could not scratch it with his hands. Then Naruto began to test the changes in other aspects after opening the Hashimen Tanku. The increase in strength and speed was more intuitive and explosive power. For example, the speed of punching was faster. Chakra's extraction speed was faster, and the output was also higher. In short, Naruto found that the first gate of Hashimen Tanku was a good auxiliary ninjutsu. Naruto came out of the bathroom. The light in the room was brighter, but the pupil's ability to adjust was also strong, so there was only a slight discomfort. Naruto's eyes swept around the room. At this time, the room was much cleaner than when he came back. The dust on the surface was almost wiped. However, Naruto smelled something strange. Naruto ordered the clone. "You two go and lift the bed for me." The bed was lifted, and Naruto saw the culprit, a smelly sock of the past Naruto. It grew hair. Naruto looked at the sock, and the corner of his mouth twitched, and he said to the clone, "Throw that sock away for me. You don't have to come back after throwing the sock, just directly remove the clone." With his strong sense of smell, Naruto found the rotten fruit pit and half a box of rotten yogurt. When all the biochemical sources were cleaned up, Naruto felt that this room was finally a place for people to stay. Walking out of the room, the sun was shining brightly outside. Naruto was prepared. He used his hand to cover his eyes slightly to avoid direct sunlight and give his eyes some time to adjust. Then, Naruto realized that his vision had become very far and very clear. Leaping onto the roof, Zhang Xian arrived at the tallest building in the vicinity. With a single glance, he felt as if the entire world was within his sight. He couldn't help but feel a lot more open-minded. Not only that, but he also noticed that the insects that were originally flying very fast had slowed down slightly under his gaze. Moreover, he could clearly see the furry texture on the insect's body. For a time, Naruto discovered that he had fallen in love with the 8 inner hidden gates. I wonder how it will feel after opening the second door. However, Naruto's heart couldn't help but beat faster when he remembered that the second door required him to carry a weight of 750 kilograms. There was also the third door with a weight of 1,000 kilograms. That's a ton. Was this something a human could achieve? Shaoli? Shaoli is not a human, he is a beautiful woodleaf blue beast. If he remembered correctly, Shaoli had opened the 5th door when he fought against my love in the Chunin exam. Although he was almost crippled after opening the 4th door, this was a stark difference. Comparisons were odious, the ancients didn't lie. After the 4th door of the 8 inner hidden gates, there was no record of the weight requirement. Perhaps the theoretical value had exceeded the limits of the human body, and was an impossible value, so there was no record of it. In other words, after opening the 5th door, damage to the body was inevitable. Standing at a high place for a while, Naruto finally thought of something. How long had he kept the 1st door of the 8 inner hidden gates open, from coming out of the toilet, to cleaning the room, to standing at the top of the tower in a daze. Already? Half an hour? Could the 8 inner hidden gates be kept open for so long? It wouldn't cause damage to the body, right? Naruto immediately closed the first door. For a time, a sense of weakness came. But it was not as bad as he thought. To be precise, this sense of weakness was not even as bad as using 800 doppelgangers. Was it because he was different from ordinary people? The bloodline of the Uzumaki was indeed different from ordinary people. However, after thinking for a moment, Naruto came to the most reasonable conclusion. His body did not consume too much energy, so the damage to the body was small. If he used an extreme physical technique like Swearina after opening the first door, he would definitely be tired like a dog after using it. After understanding the reason, Naruto was very happy. He found that the 8 inner hidden gates could be used as an auxiliary ninjutsu. Taking a deep breath, fresh oxygen flowed into his lungs. Naruto felt that his whole body was sublimated. It was the satisfaction of improving his strength. It was also the joy of his hard work being rewarded. At this time, Naruto's doppelganger that had been released before came with a message. The store manager was looking for him, and it seemed to be quite urgent. Without hesitation, Naruto rushed directly to the store manager's ninja shop. The store manager taught him the forging technique without reservation, so he was a real master. How can the disciple not help his master? Ding-ling-ling. Pushing open the wooden door, the familiar doorbell rang. Then what made Naruto dumbfounded was that he was greeted by 2 beautiful maids who looked exactly the same. Only their hair color was different. Welcome. Both of them had short hair, one pink and one blue, with bangs on the left and the other on the right. Could it be? These 2 are the 2 shop assistants that the store manager said he was looking for last time? Naruto remembered that when the store manager gave him a membership card, he said that although this card could not be discounted, he could experience absolutely high-quality service in the future. Then this high-quality service, while Naruto stood at the door in a daze, the store manager came over and greeted him. Oh Naruto, you're here. You're faster than I thought. It seems that you've gained a lot in this mission. Naruto came back to his senses. Fortunately, there is a little improvement. The store manager called the 2 shop assistants to do their own things, then turned to Naruto and said, "Look at you are full of energy. How much weight do you carry now?" Naruto withdrew his gaze from the 2 shop assistants. Not much, just got used to 50% of the weight, 510 kilograms. The store manager's mouth twitched. Naruto's progress once again refreshed his understanding of Naruto. The store manager noticed that Naruto was looking at the 2 shop assistants, so he smiled and introduced them. How is it? The quality of my shop assistants is still very high, right? Twin sisters are not common. Do you need me to introduce them to you? The pink hair is Haru Sakuratani, and the blue hair is Natsuya Sakuragi. As the store manager introduced, the 2 well-behaved girls in the distance nodded to Naruto with a smile. Naruto instantly blushed and hurriedly introduced himself. My name is Vortex Naruto. Then, without waiting for the store manager to run his mouth again, he went straight to the point. Mr. Store Manager, my clone told me that you were looking for me. What is it? When it came to business, the store manager became serious and mysteriously signaled Naruto to go into the room with him to talk. The store manager's expression was very serious. It's like this, my daughter's birthday is coming soon, and I want to forge a sword for her. I want to use the living steel that you left with me. The store manager's daughter? The store manager actually has a daughter? This wretched uncle is actually not single? Naruto could not help but complain in his heart. He replied, Then you can use it? Why are you looking for me? Oh, I understand. You want to teach me while you're forging a sword for your daughter, right? Even when I'm not here, Mr. Store Manager still thinks about me. To be honest, I'm very touched. Store Manager. To be honest, the store manager was also very touched. He just wanted to ask for the opinion of the owner of the living steel. Although the living steel was in his hands, and he was now Naruto's master in name and in reality, he still felt that it was better to ask for advice. After all, living steel was very precious. However, Naruto elegantly ignored the main point of his words. and thought that he wanted to teach Naruto. Just how little did he think of living steel as a big deal on Naruto. Mr. Store Manager? Why aren't you saying anything? Did I say something wrong? The store manager came back to his senses. Ah, no. You're absolutely right. Then we'll start forging the sword next month. Most of the materials haven't been delivered yet. Chapter 51. Naruto's Office. After Naruto left, Sandaime Naruto began to ask about Naruto's performance. Kakashi told him that Naruto might be practicing Rasengan. After hearing this, Sandaime Naruto frowned and asked, "Did he succeed?" Kakashi said truthfully, "I'm not sure, because his practice method reminded me of Rasengan. In fact, I'm not sure whether it's Rasengan or not, because Naruto hasn't used Rasengan." Sandaime Naruto tapped his fingers on the table. "Then didn't you put some pressure on him during the mission to force him to show his strength?" Kakashi nodded. "I tried not to make a move, but Naruto didn't play by the rules at all. In the end, he used more than 50 detonation tags to directly kill the enemy." Kakashi showed a helpless expression. Sandaime Naruto tapped his fingers on the table a few times, then raised his hands and crossed his fingers on the table, thinking about something. He muttered to himself, "It seems that I gave him a little too much money. If I had known, I would have cut it in half." Cut it in half? So the money that Sandaime Naruto gave to Naruto was already cut in half. Kakashi looked at Sandaime Naruto. In the end, he was still Sandaime Naruto's disciple. If Sandaime Naruto made things difficult for Naruto, Kakashi felt very uncomfortable in his heart. Sandaime Naruto saw Kakashi's gaze and explained, "It's not that I don't want to give him the money, but it's mainly because he's still young. I'm afraid that if he has too much money in his pocket, it will be easy for him to break the 3 ninja taboos." 3 ninja taboos. Women, loans, alcohol. Sandaime Naruto changed the topic. Find out whether Naruto is practicing Rasengan as soon as possible. If he is, then we have to talk to him. Rasengan is a ninjutsu created by Sandaime Naruto. If he wants to use it to remind with Leaf that he is Sandaime Naruto's son, then we can't let it go. Kakashi's eyes changed from the usual dead fish eyes to cold. At this moment, the famous Kakashi of the Embu came back. "Sandaime Naruto, Sama, can I ask what action should we take?" The third Hokage was still calm as he said, "Don't worry, it's not an extreme action. I just want to talk to him and enlighten him." "Kakashi, just have a talk?" Sandaime Naruto said with certainty, "Just a talk." Kakashi returned to his casual appearance. "I'm sorry, Sandaime Naruto-sama, I was a little emotional just now." Sandaime smiled kindly and said, "It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. You were brought up by Minato, and you have received a lot of Minato's teachings. I understand that. Your mood is fluctuating because of this. It shows that the darkness in your heart is dissipating. I see that you are very happy. It shows that it is a wise choice to transfer you from the Embu to be a teacher. Is there anything else about Naruto?" Kakashi heard Naruto's inquiry and continued to report, "There is one more thing." After the trip to the snow country, Naruto successfully fused the wind attribute chakra and the water attribute chakra into ice release. For a moment, the room suddenly became quiet. It was as if even breathing had stopped. Only the clock on the wall kept ticking. Sandaime Naruto's expression was extremely serious as he confirmed again and again, "Are you sure that Naruto fused the ice release?" Kakashi replied truthfully, "I'm sure." Naruto took a deep breath. Sufficient oxygen made his excited heart calm down a little. Ice release, that's the change in the nature of chakra after entering the Kekkai Genkai level. Once comprehended, it will form a special spiritual imprint that will be integrated into the bloodline and passed to every descendant of the same bloodline. In the history of ninja, there was one person who did it. His appearance created the Snow Clan. That was once a great clan that flourished. I didn't expect that there would be such a talent in my Woodleaf clan. It seems I can properly improve the treatment of Naruto. Seeing Naruto's reaction, Kakashi has long been accustomed to this kind of undisguised difference in treatment. Because ninja is such a position, the more capable a person is, the better treatment they will receive. On the other side, The protagonist of the conversation was chatting with the shop owner uncle at the ninja shop. The uncle was trying his best to promote how beautiful his daughter was. Naruto looked at the uncle who didn't even clean his stubble, and had a look of doubt. "You don't believe me?" The uncle raised his voice by an octave. Naruto replied against his conscience. "I believe I have to believe. The shop owner is so handsome. Your daughter must be a national beauty." The uncle praised. "Handsome national beauty. This is a novel phrase, good. Appropriate." At the same time, he took out his wallet and handed it to Naruto. "This is my daughter, look at it and you will know that I'm not bragging." Naruto took the wallet and his face instantly turned black. Fuck. Naruto saw a 4-month-old baby. Who the F***ck told him that a 4-month-old baby's face was a national beauty? Are you kidding me? However, the uncle proudly pointed at the photo and said, "What do you think? Isn't my daughter beautiful?" What else could Naruto say? He could only say that under the filter of a father's love, his child was an angel. For the sake of a father's love, Naruto nodded. "Yes, she is a beautiful girl." Wait. Is the shop owner going to make a sword for a 4-month-old baby? Naruto felt that this matter had to be confirmed. Naruto said, "Shop owner, your daughter. Isn't this big now, right?" The shop owner shook his head. "This is a photo of my daughter from 13 years ago." Naruto said, "Oh. Okay." Naruto felt that if he continued to talk like this, his IQ would be lowered. He changed the topic and said, "Mr. Shop owner, do you have any way to quickly improve my strength? I feel that my strength has reached a bottleneck recently." The shop owner stared at him and asked, "You increased your weight to 510 kilograms in less than a year, and you are still not satisfied?" Satisfied? If it was under normal circumstances, he would naturally be satisfied. But this was only the first gate of the 8 gates. There were still the second and third gates. Therefore, Naruto told himself that he couldn't be satisfied. He would be laughed at by the beautiful wood-leaf blue beast. Naruto looked at the shop owner with pleading eyes. "Mr. Shop owner, is there really no other way?" The shop owner didn't know what to feel at this time. He thought of the time when he was pursuing strength. He could understand Naruto's thoughts, but F***ck. It took him 2 years to train to 510 kilograms of weight. Jealousy. The shop owner lit a cigarette for himself and took a deep breath. He said faintly, "You know about medical ninjas, right?" Naruto nodded again and again. The shop owner blew out a smoke ring. Medical ninjas have a way to resonate chakra with the body, which can nourish the body and improve strength. Outsiders call it monstrous strength. If you really want to speed up the improvement of your strength, you can work in this direction. However, if you want to become a medical ninja, you need talent. Medical ninja's talent? Are you talking about the change in the nature of the yang chakra? I have this. Chapter 52. The second day after returning to Woodleaf. The 7th edition was gathered once again. Kakashi focused on the Chunin exam that will be held in 2 months. He explained that the Chunin exam is not only important for individuals, but also for the village. For individuals, after being promoted to Chunin, you will be able to stand on your own. For the village, your excellent performance in the competition will directly affect how many missions the village will receive in the future. So this is a battle full of honor, a battle of personal honor and collective honor. Does Naruto want to become a Chunin? Of course. After being promoted to Chunin, the discount of buying things in the ninja shop will be reduced by 30%. This will save a considerable amount of money. At the same time, after being promoted to Chunin, the basic monthly salary will be increased by 3 times, plus you can accept more advanced missions, which equates to more bonuses. This is the biggest temptation for Naruto, who is afraid of being poor. But he really doesn't want to participate in this Chunin exam. Orochimaru and the others are all Kage-level existences. Naruto feels that he can't afford to offend them, so it's better to hide. So Naruto raised his hand. Kakashi's eyes turned to Naruto. "Naruto, do you have something to say?" Naruto rubbed his hands embarrassedly. "That? I want to ask, can I not participate in this Chunin exam?" Awkward silence. Kakashi, who was in the middle of his speech a second ago, suddenly forgot what to say. Kakashi can't make such a hot-blooded declaration. According to his character, he will only tell you indifferently, "Hey, you three, this Chunin exam, I signed you up." The reason for such a hot-blooded declaration is that Naruto drafted a draft for him yesterday and asked him to memorize it. This will motivate Naruto and the other two. In other words, this is a brainwashing education. Kakashi had never done this kind of task before, and it was considered difficult. In order to complete it perfectly, Kakashi had worked hard all night. From memorizing the script to giving a passionate speech. He hypnotized himself again and again, telling himself that he was Kai, he was Kai, he was Kai. Reality proved that he had succeeded. Well, he had succeeded before Naruto spoke. But now he had forgotten his lines. Kakashi stared at Naruto. At this moment he wanted to give Naruto a 1-month Millennium Kill package. Kakashi, reason? Naruto clutched his stomach. That my stomach hurts. What AF * King stomachache? Chunin's exam is in 2 months. What does your stomachache have to do with that? If there was a table, Kakashi would have flipped it. Then, he would use the bench to ruthlessly nail Naruto into the ground, so that he wouldn't be able to get out. Kakashi roared. No. Even if you had menstrual cramps that day, you have to do it. Naruto. Pft. Sasuke. Pft. Hinata. Pft. Period pain. Was it really appropriate to use such physiological terms on Naruto? However, the meaning was clear. No matter what, Naruto had to do it. Naruto expressed his sadness at this result. With his speech interrupted, Kakashi forgot his lines and couldn't continue. Kakashi could only choose a brief explanation. Kakashi's face was dark. The Chunin's exam is not only a level assessment, but also a competition platform for ninjas from various countries. The original intention was to avoid meaningless war and use peaceful competition to compete for a share of the task distribution. Well, what is the Chunin's exam? You just need to understand this. Just understand this? Why didn't you mention the mortality rate? Of course, Naruto wasn't afraid of death in the competition. After all, he was someone who fought against ninjas at the level of Zabuza and Windflower New Tao. But, Orochimaru, just thinking about it made his liver hurt. Kakashi continued to explain. Secondly, I will explain the subjects of the Chunin's exam. The Chunin's exam is divided into 3 parts. The first subject, written exam, the second subject, team cooperation, and the third subject, individual competition. The specifics of the exam are confidential. It's not convenient to say. You just need to understand the Chunin's exam in your heart. Then train in these 3 directions: knowledge accumulation, team cooperation, and individual ability. I believe that after experiencing the Wave Country mission and the Snow Country mission, you definitely have the ability to face this exam. Naruto secretly rolled his eyes. If it was a normal exam, he was also confident. Kakashi turned to look at Naruto, who was in despair, and asked, Naruto, do you have any questions? Naruto sighed and muttered, I have an ominous feeling. His voice was very low, and the wind was blowing in the direction of Naruto, so Kakashi didn't hear it clearly. So he asked, Huh? What are you muttering about? Naruto raised his head and said weakly, It's okay, I will participate, and I will try my best to survive. Kakashi. He wanted to praise Naruto's consciousness, but Naruto's appearance was very much like mud that couldn't be helped. Such a guy actually succeeded in fusing the Kekkei Genkai. Thinking of the Kekkei Genkai, Kakashi was a little eager to try. Since Naruto can successfully fuse the Kekkei Genkai, then he might be able to do it. So for the whole morning, Kakashi said that he was free to train, and then he went to the side to ponder about his Kekkei Genkai. It wasn't until noon that a ninja came to pass Naruto's verbal order that he stopped. After the ninja left, Kakashi gathered the 3 people. Kakashi looked at everyone with a lazy face. In order to ensure the safety of the team during the mission, Wood Leaf will open a medical ninja crash course, and every class of female ninja must participate. Hinata, from today onwards, for a month, you don't have to come to the afternoon training. Report directly to Sandame Naruto at 1 o'clock this afternoon, and someone will take you to the training location. Medical Ninja Crash Course. Good stuff. Naruto just learned from the store manager yesterday that the monster's strength could speed up the growth of strength. He was worried about who to learn medical ninjutsu from. He thought that when he found Tsunade, he would shamelessly ask her to be his teacher. Now the problem is solved. Naruto raised his hand. Kakashi's eyelids twitched. He found that every time Naruto wanted to speak, something bad would happen. So this time he chose to ignore it. But Naruto didn't give up. His hand waved in front of his eyes like a small flagpole, which was annoying. Kakashi turned around. And this time he intended to ignore it. How could Naruto let Kakashi go like this? He shouted. I also want to learn medical ninjutsu. Kakashi's mouth twitched. He knew that something bad would happen. He didn't look back and said, You're not a woman, just practice. In Kakashi's view, Naruto definitely wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to be lazy. Naruto persevered. Sandame Naruto, Sama said that female ninja must participate, and there's no such thing as male ninja can't participate. Besides, even if it's a mandatory requirement, I can change it. With that, Naruto used a ninjutsu that he hadn't used for a long time. Perverted Waijutsu. A weak and numb voice called. Kakashi-sensei. Kakashi's movement stiffened and his face twitched. Naruto. The effect wasn't enough? Then let's combine the Shadow Clone Jutsu and the S-Class Seduction Jutsu. Harem Jutsu. 800 clones appeared, each with white skin, curvy breasts, and various seductive postures. Even Kakashi had to pay a price. His mask was wet with blood from his nose. In order not to make a fool of himself again, he quickly retreated. He only left a sentence. Naruto. I'll teach you a lesson when I come back. It turned out that the harem jutsu was very useful for Kakashi, who read the Perverted Immortal series all day. Naruto made a victory sign behind Kakashi, and then cancelled the harem jutsu. Sasuke's face darkened. This idiot. Chapter 53. In the afternoon, Naruto and Hinata came to Naruto's office early to sign up. When Naruto saw Naruto, his face was very kind. It was as if he saw his grandson. After learning that Naruto was also going to participate in the medical ninja crash course, he directly agreed. Naruto said with a kind face, It's always good to see different aspects of ninjutsu. Whether you can learn it or not, it's good to gain experience. Naruto didn't know why Naruto was like a grandfather, but since he could get what he wanted, he didn't care. Later, people from other classes came one after another. Sakura Haruno was surprised when she saw Naruto. Naruto? You also want to participate in the medical ninja crash course? Naruto has always felt guilty about switching Hinata and Sakura. When he saw Sakura Haruno, he couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. He scratched the back of his head and said, Well, I want to see it, so I came to see it. After a few months, Sakura Haruno changed a lot. At least she wasn't as excited as when Sasuke was around. Therefore, she looked more quiet and ladylike. She wasn't annoying anymore. He didn't know if this was the effect of Naruto's shame filter. Soon after, people from other classes also came. Ino Yamanaka from Asma class, Tian from Metke class, Sakura Haruno from Kurenai class, and Hinata from Kakashi class. In this temporarily formed class, there was only one male, Naruto. When Naruto saw that everyone was here, he said, The idea of equipping each team with a medical ninja was proposed by my disciple, one of the Sannin, Tsunade. This proposal is very good. If there is a medical ninja in each team, then the safety of the entire team will be guaranteed. But at that time, there was no condition to do such a time-consuming and laborious thing, so I rejected it. Now that the era of frequent wars has passed, it's time to make reforms, and you are the first batch. I hope you can take it seriously. The four girls and Naruto also became serious under the influence of the atmosphere, and they repeatedly agreed. The Sandame nodded, and then said with regret, Unfortunately, I don't know where Tsunade is. Otherwise, with her teaching you, you can learn more. He sighed deeply. It must have evoked some bad memories. Not long after, a man in a white doctor's robe knocked on the door and walked in. He bowed to Naruto and said, I'm very sorry, because a patient had an emergency, so I'm late. Naruto waved his hand. I know Wood Leaf Medical Ninja has been short of manpower. Thank you for your hard work. The female doctor bowed again. The third Hokage introduced to everyone. This is your teacher in medical ninjutsu for the next month. The medical ninja turned around and introduced herself. My name is Hana Fujita. Please take care of me for the next month. Naruto looked at the teacher for the next month. Her ice blue hair was tied in a ponytail, very straight and refreshing. Her facial features were regular and beautiful, and she had an oval face. Her gaze was slightly cold, and she wore black-rimmed glasses. Her intellectual beauty gave people a sense of distance. But compared to her eyes, the most distinctive feature was her long legs, which were definitely more than 1 meter long, coupled with high heels. It was a lot of pressure. It was their first meeting, so Naruto didn't want to leave a bad impression on his future teacher. So he only gave her a quick glance, and then obediently looked away, returning the greeting with everyone. But he couldn't help but complain in his heart, such a tall sister. It must be hard for her to find a boyfriend. Naruto. Okay, go and study. Medical ninjas are very busy. I hope you can cherish this opportunity. Also, when Naruto's studies are over, come to my place. I've already prepared the things I wanted to give you last time. The things he wanted to give him? The relics of the 4th generation couple? Naruto thought about it and understood, bowing respectfully. Leaving Naruto's office, Naruto followed Hana Fujita to the location of her class, and found that he had been here before. It was the Medical Ninja Training Center that he passed by last time. At first glance, it was obvious that this building was newly built. The light yellow paint on the walls was still very new, and there wasn't even a single footprint left behind by a naughty child. The building's style was cylindrical, straight up and down. Naruto had already discovered that this world loved cylindrical shapes, such as Naruto's building. The building was slightly shorter than Naruto's office, and had 3 floors. Naruto's classroom was on the top floor. Along the way, Naruto looked left and right, hoping to see if he could meet Kabuto again. But to his disappointment, there were so few people in this building that it was almost as if there was no one there. Not only did he not see anyone walking in the corridor, he couldn't even hear a sound. Hana Fujita walked in front. The crisp sound of her high heels on the tiles could be heard for a long time. Creak. She pushed open the classroom door. Hana Fujita pointed to a row of tables and chairs below. Today's class is all about theoretical knowledge. You just need to listen carefully, and keep all questions in your heart. I'll answer them in the last 10 minutes. Vigorous and vigorous, swift and decisive, dictatorial. After leaving Naruto's office, Hana Fujita was no longer as humble and courteous as she was in front of Sandame Naruto. Everyone felt a chill in their hearts at the same time. They obediently found their own seats and sat down. Pen and paper were already prepared on the desks. It seemed to be for them to take notes. However, there were only 4 sets, clearly prepared for the 4 classes of girls in the original plan. Naruto was very aware, and took the initiative to sit in the seat without pen and paper. Then the next class began. Yes, there was only one class, but this class lasted from 1:30 to 5:30 in the afternoon. There was not a single minute of rest in between, and Hana Fujita on the podium did not stop for a single word, teaching in a real way. When she stopped, it was the last 10 minutes of the Q&A session. At this time, 2 of the 4 girls were already dizzy. The only ones who persisted and took good notes were Hinata and Sakura Haruno. Thus, they were the only 2 girls who could ask questions. It took Hana Fujita 1 minute to answer Hinata's questions, and then 2 minutes to answer Sakura Haruno's questions. Hana Fujita looked at Sakura Haruno with admiration for the first time, then walked to Hinata's side with a frown and picked up Hinata's notes. The notes were very detailed, whether useful or not, they were all recorded. Hana Fujita knew how fast she spoke, and she sighed at Hinata's hand speed, but she did not agree. She criticized, "Notes without key points are very bad notes. This is also why you couldn't ask all the questions you didn't understand, and it will waste a lot of time when you're studying." Hinata stood up, glanced at Naruto from the corner of her eye, and then gathered her courage and said, "Naruto-kun doesn't have pen and paper, I want to write it down for him to see." The classroom suddenly fell silent. Naruto's mouth was half open, and he forgot to breathe. His heartbeat quickened, and he was moved, happy, and had an inexplicable impulse. It was wonderful, and he really wanted to hold Hinata in his arms right now. Hana Fujita turned around to look at Naruto. "You're Naruto?" Naruto came back to his senses and stood up. "Hana Fujita, you were one of the first to enter the room, but you chose the table without pen and paper. Are you too lazy to take notes? Or, are you being modest?" Naruto wanted to say no, because he could write everything down with his head, so there was no need for him to lose his integrity and fight with a girl for notes. But wouldn't that mean that Hinata's notes were useless? That would be letting her down. And so, Naruto decisively chose the second answer. "I was added later, so logically, these were prepared for them, so I didn't have a choice." "Hana Fujita, then you're being modest. That's very gentlemanly, but there's no need to be gentlemanly in front of knowledge. I'll ask you 10 questions that I've talked about in class. If you can't answer 2 or more of them, then no matter what reason you came to this classroom, and no matter who gave you permission, you'll lose the right to be here." Hinata looked at Naruto with a worried expression. At the same time, the girls in the other 3 classes had similar expressions. Chapter 54. 10 questions, in the eyes of everyone present, seemed like an impossible task. However, Naruto happily agreed. Could it be that Naruto gave up? Did he want to leave so quickly? Sakura Haruno couldn't help but guess. She wanted to ask a few more questions, but the question and answer session had already begun. Sakura Haruno shook her head, but she didn't care anymore. She wanted to ask for a favor because they were former classmates. Thinking about it carefully, so what if she asked for a favor? Did she really expect the last place student to answer? Hana Kazuki asked the first question. "What is the most basic talent for a medical ninja?" Naruto. Yang Chakra's nature change. Sakura Haruno was surprised. Correct answer, but this question was too simple. Could it be that Hanamoon-sensei didn't intend to make things difficult for Naruto? However, this was already the simplest question of the day. Naruto should only be able to answer this one. Hana Kazuki asked the second question. "Tell me the 3 unique uses of chakra for a medical ninja." Naruto. Chakra scalpel, chakra suture needle, chakra thread. Sakura Haruno looked at Naruto's side profile. That wasn't an expression of carelessness, but rather one of confidence. Could Naruto really be able to answer all the questions? Probably not. After all, this question was the most basic of the basic questions. It was a very simple question. Hana Kazuki asked the third question. "Tell me the principles behind these 3 unique methods." Here came the difficult part. Sakura Haruno realized that she couldn't remember the specific principles behind this sudden question, so she quietly started flipping through her notes. However, Naruto had already answered. The principle behind chakra scalpel is to compress chakra. While chakra is connected, it vibrates at a low amplitude and a high frequency. It mainly affects the central nervous system and the nerve endings of various tissues. At the same time, when chakra's compression density reaches the level of texture, the scalpel's effect will increase to the strength of tendons. The strength of the body needs to be increased by 10 times on the basis of texture, and it needs to be increased by 100 times to cut the bones. The skin and limbs cut with a chakra scalpel. If at the same time the chakra is stabilized and wrapped with chakra, during this period the wound can be seamlessly connected before the chakra is removed. Chakra suture needle is to compress chakra to the level of texture and provide 10 times chakra to stabilize chakra. It can be used in conjunction with chakra thread to suture the wound of the injured. Chakra thread is formed by combining the injured's chakra and the medical ninja's chakra. This ensures that after the medical ninja stops the output of chakra, the thread won't break without the supply of chakra. As Naruto answered, Sakura Haruno also found her notes. She listened to Naruto's answer and looked at the notes, and was momentarily stunned. If the first and second questions were simple, then the third question was something that even she didn't think of just now. Kazuki asked the fourth question. "Tell me the principle of the medical ninja's basic treatment ninjutsu, and the requirements for promotion." Sakura Haruno had forgotten to think and directly turned to the notes, waiting for Naruto's answer. Naruto didn't let her wait long. In fact, he had already started answering before she turned to the notes. Naruto. The basic treatment ninjutsu is healing jutsu. The principle of healing jutsu is to inject yang chakra into the injured body and integrate it with the chakra of the injured person. By stimulating the activity of chakra of the injured person's body will be stimulated, and the self-healing ability of the injured person's body will be activated in a short time. The advanced ninjutsu of healing jutsu is called Divine Palm Jutsu. The requirement for promotion is to change the passive activation to active activation. The caster needs to accurately inject yang chakra into the cells of the patient's wound to activate the cells. The difficulty is that it needs to be stable control. If it's too weak, it will be ineffective. If it's too strong, it will easily cause abnormal cell division, causing cell proliferation, and even reduce the life of the treated person. He got it right again. Hana Kazuki raised the fifth question. What is the most ideal method to deal with the initial stage of poisoning? Naruto. The most ideal method is the fine problem extraction jutsu. Sixth question. What is the difficult part of the fine problem extraction jutsu? Naruto. A large amount of chakra, stable chakra control, accurate chakra perception, and at the same time requires the use of the chakra scalpel, the chakra suture needle, and the chakra suture thread, three delicate operations that are unique to chakra. Seventh question. Name 3 methods to paralyze the injured person's body. Naruto. Illusion, mental paralysis, yang chakra's electronic transformation to interfere with the nervous system, and powerful medicine. Eighth question. What is the difference between a yakushi and a medical ninja? Naruto. A yakushi is a medical ninja who is unable to perform yang chakra's transformation. Hana Kazuki smiled and nodded approvingly. Only capable people have the right to be humble. You are very good. Your memory is very good. If you are unable to display your yang attribute talent in the next 3 days of classes, I will teach you more about yakushi. Alright, today's class ends here. 10 minutes have passed, so the Q&A phase ends here. Everyone else is dismissed, except for Naruto. That's it. Sakura Haruno's brain was still in a state of crash. She subconsciously stood up and interrupted. Wait, didn't we ask 10 questions? So far, only 8 have been asked. Hana Kazuki looked at Sakura Haruno with a smile on her face. I promised that I would pass if I answered 8 questions correctly. Naruto answered 8 questions correctly in a row, so there is no reason to continue wasting time. What are you not satisfied with Naruto passing the test? Sakura Haruno came back to her senses and quickly waved her hand. She shook her head and said, No, it's just. Sakura Haruno stood there for a long time without coming out. Hana Kazuki waved her hand and said again, Today's class ends here. I want to see you all gather here on time tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Alright, class is over. Go do what you need to do. Sakura Haruno opened her mouth, but closed it in the end. She bowed and left the classroom. She sighed in her heart. It's just too unbelievable. After Sakura Haruno left, Ino followed closely behind. After the two of them left, Ino couldn't help but complain. If it was Sasuke-kun, I could understand, but Naruto, how could he remember everything? Sakura Haruno didn't reply. At this time, she also felt very uncomfortable. She couldn't believe it. She was a little disappointed and confused. It had to be said that humans were complex creatures. When they were stronger than others, they would lend a helping hand. But when they discovered that someone who should have been weaker than them was suddenly stronger than them, the imbalance in their hearts would cause jealousy. In short, jealousy made people ugly. Ino's heart was moving in the direction of ugliness. Sakura Haruno was still wavering between blessing and jealousy. Tion, on the other hand, didn't think so much. He only complained, It's so difficult to be a medical ninja. I really want to blow myself up. As for Hinata, she was overjoyed. Naruto had passed the test. This way, the two of them could go to school together and spend a month happily together. It was just that, this time, she seemed to have done something unnecessary. Naruto-kun was so smart that he didn't need notes. Naruto was left behind by Hanatsuki. After bidding farewell to Naruto, Hinata walked home alone. While mocking herself for her stupidity, she was looking forward to tomorrow's class with Naruto. In the classroom on the top floor of the Medical Ninja Training Center, Hanatsuki smiled at Naruto and said, "Now, if you have any questions, I'll take some time alone to answer all your questions." Naruto's eyes lit up. Was this the legendary special treatment for the top students? Naruto immediately said, "I want to ask about medical ninjutsu, about the strange strength." Chapter 55. Monstrous Strength. Hanatsuki frowned. "You're asking a weird question. As far as I know, this ninjutsu is a special ninjutsu that can only be practiced by people with yang attribute talents. I don't know anything else. Each of Woodleaf's medical ninjas is a very precious resource. They rarely participate in battles, and even if they do, there are ninjas accompanying them to protect them. Well, if you really want to know, you can only wait until you meet one of the legendary Sannin, Tsunade-sama, and ask her in person. Legend has it that Tsunade-sama is very good at using this ninjutsu. There's no record of monstrous strength in Woodleaf?" Naruto was a little disappointed. He came for monstrous strength, and for a moment even his spirit was a little dispirited. Hanatsuki saw that Naruto's interest suddenly disappeared, and had a bad feeling. This kid won't not come tomorrow, right? A woman's intuition is very accurate, and as a medical ninja, her intuition is even more accurate. And Hanatsuki believed in her intuition. She felt that she couldn't let go of such a talented kid. Even if she wanted to let him go, she had to wait until she confirmed whether this kid had the talent of yang attribute chakra transformation. So she quickly remedied. "You want to learn monstrous strength? It seems that you're still a militant, but you have to learn yang attribute chakra transformation first. Monstrous strength is a branch of medical ninjutsu. Although I haven't practiced it, I heard some things about it from my elders when they talked about Tsunade-sama's style. It said that this ninjutsu requires solid medical ninjutsu knowledge. If you want to learn monstrous strength, first learn medical ninjutsu. Maybe one day you'll meet Tsunade-sama outside, or Tsunade-sama will return to the village, and you can learn it directly. When the time comes, as long as Tsunade-sama is willing to teach you, you have solid medical ninjutsu knowledge, and you can learn it easily. Remember, opportunities are left for those who are prepared. For you, what you need to prepare now is to learn medical ninjutsu well, and prove your talent in this area." Naruto's almost extinguished interest was rekindled bit by the words of Fengjian Huayu. "That's right. Although I can't study right now, Chunan's exam is around the corner. When Sandame Naruto returns to heaven, Tsunade will come back." Seeing that Naruto had regained his vigor, Heini Fujishan was secretly relieved. He sighed in his heart. What a cute little guy. He settled it with just a few words. But I've wasted so much time, energy and brainpower for him. I hope I can gain something. Woodleaf's medical ninjas are really lacking. If I can train a few decent guys, then I can get off work earlier every day. At the same time, taking advantage of Naruto's enthusiasm of practicing medical ninjutsu, Hana Fujin took out a very thick dictionary of plant knowledge. In her opinion, even if Naruto doesn't have the talent of a medical ninjutsu, it's also excellent for him to be a yakushi. This guy has such a good memory. He's suitable to be a yakushi, and it can also help her save some energy. So now, before proving whether Naruto has the talent of a medical ninjutsu, she can try to cultivate Naruto's interest in plant medicine. Hana Fujin said, "Take this book back and read it. Many of the plants in it are very interesting, and some of them can even move like living creatures." Naruto took it, nodded, and decided to go home and let his clone read it. Then Hana Fujin spent 10 minutes alone to answer Naruto's problems in class. Naruto then left and went to Sandame Naruto to get his parents' relics. But what he didn't expect was, the so-called relics turned out to be only a flying thunder god jutsu. Naruto asked in disbelief, "That's it?" Sandame Naruto nodded and slowly said, "There's also a Naruto cloak, but it's not suitable to give it to you yet." Naruto, A flying thunder god jutsu engraved on a kunai. What's the use of it? Well, maybe it'll be useful when learning the flying thunder god jutsu in the future, but for now, it can only be used as a relic to remember the dead. But if it's just a kunai, there's no need to prepare it for so long. He could have just taken it out when he gave him the money back then, causing trouble. Naruto bowed and put the kunai in his pocket. Sandaime Naruto, Sama, if there's nothing else, I'll take my leave. I still have training to do. Sandaime Naruto sighed. Don't you want to listen to me talk about your father? Naruto shook his head. Let bygones be bygones. In addition, teacher Kakashi has already told me some things about the fourth Naruto. I think it's enough for me to know those things. Sandaime Naruto nodded and sighed. It's good to not be immersed in the sorrow of the past and look at the future. Then I'll talk to you about the ice release bloodline limit. The report from the Snow Country said that you've comprehended the ice release bloodline limit. Saying that, Sandaime took out a scroll in his hand and gave it to Naruto. I have a scroll that records the ice release Kekkei Genkai limit scroll. It contains the cultivation of the ice release bloodline limit, as well as a secret technique. Ah, there's actually such a good thing. The pie that suddenly fell from the sky made Naruto a little dizzy, and the unhappiness that just rose in his heart was swept away. The scroll that Sandaime Naruto took out was exactly what he needed at this time. Naruto took it with both hands and bowed. Thank you very much. Naruto smiled kindly. Practice well. The bloodline limit ninjutsu is a great treasure for any village. In addition, I want to ask you, when you met Yondaime-sama, did Yondaime-sama teach you some ninjutsu? Holding the newly obtained scroll, Naruto couldn't wait to open it. Hearing the 3RD's question, he raised his head and looked at him. Naruto's expression was still kind. Naruto nodded. Well, he taught me a technique under my strong request he taught me, but I haven't learned it yet. Naruto looked at Naruto seriously. Since Yondaime-sama didn't learn the ninjutsu, put it down first. Now you'd better not show any relationship with Yondaime-sama Naruto. This is for your safety. Naruto suddenly realized. No wonder he took out a scroll of the ice release secret technique. It turned out to be a diversion, not to let him practice Rasengan. But, why? Naruto was full of doubts about Naruto's resistance to his contact with Yondaime-sama Naruto. Maybe there's really a big reason? However, Naruto wasn't in a hurry to learn Rasengan. When he meets Jiraiya, Jiraiya will teach him. At that time, the source of Rasengan will be perfectly solved. It's just that for the time being, he can get a scroll of the ice release secret technique without using Rasengan. So he replied again and again. Okay, then I won't practice that ninjutsu in the future, and I'll practice this secret technique. But if I finish practicing this secret technique, are there any other ice release secret technique? Chapter 56. When Sandaime Naruto heard that Naruto agreed to give up on 4th Naruto's technique, he was very satisfied, and his face couldn't help but reveal a more kind smile. However, when he heard the second sentence, the corner of his mouth couldn't help but twitch. He laughed and said, How can ice release be so easy to learn? Don't bite off more than you can chew. Naruto nodded obediently, okay. Then he continued to ask, Then if I work hard to learn it, will there be other ice release techniques? Obviously, Naruto didn't want to let Sandaime Naruto succeed, so he took the opportunity to change the topic. Sandaime Naruto had no choice but to frown and think, if you really succeed, then come to me to get another scroll. And so, the meeting with Sandaime Naruto ended happily. After leaving Naruto's office, Naruto went straight home. He couldn't wait to know what kind of ninjutsu was recorded in this scroll. As soon as he entered the house, Ninetales suddenly said, Find a sealing scroll and seal the kunai that Sandaime Naruto gave you. Naruto was puzzled. Is there a problem with that kunai? Kyubi. I have seen Yondaime Hokage's kunai, and the feeling it gives me is very different. Naruto nodded and chose to listen to Ninetales. He first poured out an empty storage scroll, and put the 3-pronged kunai inside. As for the sealing scroll, he would wait until the next time he went to the store manager's place to get one. Throwing the scroll with the 3-pronged kunai aside, Naruto excitedly opened the scroll that he got from Sandame Naruto. Right, there was one more thing to do. Naruto used the shadow clone jutsu to create 5 clones. Then he gave the 5 clones a plant illustration book that was as thick as 2 palms. He ordered all the clones to read it once. Naruto's idea was that since he was going to learn medical ninjutsu, the knowledge of plants should be basic knowledge, so he should first memorize it in his mind. Otherwise, the next time he sees Hanamoon-sensei, she will test him again, and it will be difficult if he can't answer. But in fact, even Kazuma Hana can't memorize a herb dictionary. However, if Kazuma Hana knew that Naruto had such a feat, she would be very happy. What could be more pleasing to a medical ninja than a human-shaped intelligent herb dictionary? The 5 clones took the Kusanagi dictionary and memorized it. Naruto finally opened the ice release secret technique scroll. As soon as he opened it, Naruto liked. The first part of the scrolls is this cultivation experience. Ants. It's that it can produce snowzes. Although snow is not as hard as ice, it is more flexible than ice. When you can transform snow and ice at will, you can use all kinds of ninjutsu that don't require any hand seals. Ice, on the other hand, was produced when wind and water were equal. In other words, if feng shui is equal, ice is formed. Weaken water, ice turns into snow. Weaken wind, ice turns into water. The front part describes the basic changes of ice release, and the back part is the control method. There are a total of 3 levels. Ice release control practice beginner. Controlling one attribute with one hand. Left hand as wind and right hand as water, or right hand as wind and left hand as water. Ice release control practice advanced. Controlling 2 attributes with one hand at the same time. Ice release control practice advanced. Don't move, melt ice with your mind. Don't see snow, see here, where ice and snow are, you will be there. Naruto's eyes widened. This advanced control technique is too awesome, right? So he directly opened the scroll to see if there were any advanced cultivation methods. But to Naruto's disappointment, he didn't see the end. This scroll only talked about the advanced part, controlling 2 attributes with one hand. Naruto couldn't help but guess. Is the scroll in Sandame Naruto's hand a high-level one? TSK. If that's the case, how did Konoha get their hands on such a powerful scroll? Is the decline of ice release related to Wood Leaf? Is it Wood Leaf that destroyed the ice release Kekii Genkai? Naruto shook his head and threw out the unfounded guess. Naruto glanced at the name of the secret technique. 1,000 miles of ice. It was a secret technique that changed the temperature. According to the secret technique, if the caster was strong enough, he could even change the weather. Naruto blinked. It seems to be a great secret technique. Then Naruto returned to the beginning, planning to go back and cultivate from the basic part. Naruto could already reach the introductory part by himself. He could control the formation of ice and snow with 2 hands. Naruto carefully looked at the standard cultivation method. He found that there was also an introduction to using chakra to freeze the body to stimulate the body. After looking at the standard method of freezing ice and snow, Naruto raised his hand and tried again. His left hand had the water attribute, and his right hand had the wind attribute. There were no special requirements for forming seals, only the change of fist and palm. Chakra's main hand should be on top. Naruto's left hand formed a fist, and his right hand formed a palm to cover it. Wind main, water auxiliary, snow. Chakra came out of his body, and white snowflakes revolved around Naruto's body in a clockwise direction. Success! Naruto's left hand didn't move, and his right palm moved from top to bottom. Water main, wind auxiliary, water. The snowflakes around his body melted into small water droplets. Naruto controlled these water droplets with chakra, making the water droplets connect together and form a water ring around his body. Success! Then next, his hands turned into fists at the same time, and the fists collided with each other. Water and wind were equal, ice. The water ring turned into an ice ring. But at the same time, Naruto also found that it was more difficult to change the shape of the ice ring. So Naruto's right fist turned into a palm, and pressed on his left fist. Wind main, water auxiliary, snow. Clack, 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 clack. The control failed. The ice ring broke into pieces. Naruto condensed the ice ring again. Then his left hand formed a fist, and his right hand formed a palm. Water main wind auxiliary, water. Success this time. It seemed that it was very difficult to control from ice to snow, but from ice to water was very easy. Naruto also understood why water was an important part of the transformation of ice and snow. Naruto's right palm covered his left fist. Wind main water auxiliary snow. The water ring around his body turned into snow in an instant. From condensing together, it turned into drifting snowflakes. The records on the scroll, fist and palm, didn't mean to be fixed. It depended on the user's own definition. In this way, in the process of using it, one could gradually get used to this system, form a conditioned reflex, and control ice and snow at the fastest speed. Naruto's definition was left fist and right palm, left hand as water, right hand as wind. Because it was very easy to remember, left hand as Azure Dragon, right hand as White Tiger. Cloud follows dragon, wind follows tiger. Cloud is water. Naruto had fun and did it again. Right palm pressed left fist, wind main, water main, snow. Naruto controlled the snow to surround his body clockwise. The reason why it was clockwise was the same principle as practicing Rasengan. Because Naruto's chakra was formed clockwise. Then he kept right palm pressed left fist and pushed out, shoot. Snowflakes shot out. Right palm down left fist, water main, wind auxiliary water. Naruto. Return. The snowflakes that shot out melted into water and condensed together, forming a water dragon that circled around. What posture should he use for ice? Holding two fists together was a bit like radio gymnastics. Then change it to two palms, like Inoki's posture when he used dust release, with the tiger's mouth facing each other. His hands weren't completely straight, leaving a natural curve. Feng Shui balanced ice. Naruto. Ice arrow shoot. The water dragon that circled around instantly turned into an ice arrow and shot out. The ice arrow that was as thick as an arm was more appropriate to call it an icicle than an ice arrow. Boom. With a sound, the ice arrow pierced through the wall. A hole suddenly appeared in the wall. Naruto blinked. It's over, it's out of control again. Naruto sighed and was about to get up and think of a way to fill the hole. At this time, a clone that had finished reading the plant dictionary dispelled the clone. For a moment, an extremely large amount of information appeared in his mind. Naruto only felt dizzy. He moved something under his feet, and then his left foot tripped his right foot and he fell to the ground. Naruto. F***CK, the clone is also a trap. Chapter 57. Naruto found some tape and barely sealed the broken wall to block the air vent. Then he continued to practice the advanced chapter of Ice Escape. Naruto skimmed through the beginner chapter of Ice Escape with both hands. However, things didn't go so smoothly when he reached the advanced chapter. The advanced chapter required him to control two types of chakra with one hand. He needed to imbue two types of chakra into two meridians in one arm. The introduction seemed simple, but when he really tried it, Naruto found that it was more than a little difficult. It was like asking a normal person to write with his feet. After failing dozens of times, an hour passed in a hurry. Naruto's enthusiasm continued to decrease. Well, controlling with one hand and two hands shouldn't affect the cultivation of the secret technique, right? Why don't I take a look at the secret technique first? However, when Naruto looked down, he saw a warning. If your control technique hasn't reached the advanced chapter, please don't try to cultivate the secret technique. Naruto's mouth twitched. After hesitating for a while, he went back to read the main points of Ice Escape with one hand. The scroll pointed out that one could launch two different attacks with one hand or control the attack with one hand, and the defense with the other. This was an extremely important part of the cultivation of Ice Escape. It was related to the chances of survival on the battlefield. Naruto muttered to himself, "It's related to life. It's really important." So Naruto started cultivating again. The second clone finished reading the plant dictionary. A huge amount of information came again. Naruto's hand, which had just started to float a snowflake, was interrupted. Naruto felt very sleepy. He glanced at the time. It was already midnight. Let's cultivate for a while more. Naruto struggled to float a snowflake with one hand. Did this count as completing the first step of cultivation? No, this was just the beginning. To complete the single-handed cultivation, one had to be able to use one hand to change the 3 types of ice, snow, and water. Only after doing this could one be considered to have reached the next level. However, this wasn't all. The real master was to use both hands to launch different attacks, defenses, ice and snow. When Naruto was able to use one hand to control the snowflakes around his arm to make the 3 changes of ice, snow, and water. The third clone finished reading the plant dictionary. Naruto finally couldn't hold on any longer. With a plop sound, he fell asleep on the sofa. It was already 3 o'clock in the morning. That night, Naruto had a very magical dream. He dreamt that he had turned into a plant and was living in a herbal garden filled with all kinds of plants. Then he pulled out his roots from the soil and walked out. While admiring the other plants, he muttered the names, properties, and pharmacology of the plants. The next day, the alarm clock rang. Naruto curled up on the sofa in a daze. He raised his hand, condensed an icicle in his palm, and then shot it out. It pierced through the wall and hit the alarm clock in the bedroom. Then the world fell silent. Naruto continued sleeping. An hour later, Kakashi, Sasuke, and Hinata climbed into Naruto's kitchen through the open window. Kaka looked at the newly bought kitchen utensils in surprise. Ha! I didn't see these things the first time I came here. Did Naruto start learning to cook recently? Sasuke also glanced at the utensils. In fact, Sasuke, who lived alone, also knew how to cook some food. Kaka asked, "Have you been to Naruto's house before?" Kakashi looked at the utensils and replied, "Yes, when the third Naruto informed you that you were my students. I came here for a home visit." Unlike Sasuke, who could barely cook some food, Kakashi was very good at cooking, especially fish. He had caught all the fish in the Wood Leaf River, so he had cooked them all. He was very good at it. Therefore, he couldn't help but take a few more glances at the utensils. He commented, "It's not just a decoration. Although this pot is very new and cleaned, it has been cooked before." Hinata, who was the last to come in, looked over. This was the first time that Hinata had come to Naruto's house. She couldn't help but feel a little happy and nervous. Naruto-kun could cook, and Hinata already knew about it when the two of them bought kitchenware together. It was just that she hadn't tasted Naruto-kun's cooking. It was getting late after they bought the utensils that day, and then they parted. Well, Naruto-kun also gave her a gift that day. Hinata blushed when she thought of the gift. At first, it was a set of underwear. When Hinata saw it, she was so shy that she wanted to crawl into a hole in the ground. Later, she went to the bathroom. When she came out, she found that the gift box had been changed. The gift box, which had already been opened, was sealed once again. Hinata opened it and saw that there was a soft armor inside. She understood that the gift was most likely taken by the unscrupulous uncle. However, Hinata was distressed because she had already taken out the underwear from the box. After sneaking into her house and changing the gift, he only took away an empty box. Because the item was a girl's underwear, Hinata didn't know how to return it. Did the uncle have a special hobby? If she returned it, would he be angry? Therefore, the set of underwear was still intact in her house. She tried to put the underwear back into the gift box and went to the bathroom a few times, but the person who sneaked into her house didn't appear again. The three of them touched this and looked at that in the kitchen. Soon they left the kitchen. When they entered the living room, the three of them were dumbfounded. The cold wind blew in the room, and the thick dictionary on the floor flipped a few pages from time to time. Kakashi looked at the air vent. There was a hole as thick as 2 arms, and there were traces of rough tape on it. Now the pieces of tape were fluttering in the wind. There was more than one hole in the room. Kakashi saw that there was another hole in the wall connected to the bedroom. It was the same as the previous hole. It was obvious that it was caused by the same method. Kakashi glanced at the book on the floor. It was a plant dictionary. He had seen this in the hands of other medical ninjas. Picking up the book from the floor, Kakashi walked to the sofa and saw the sleeping Naruto and the scroll on the coffee table. Naruto fell asleep while cultivating yesterday. Kakashi had a preliminary guess. Then he looked at the wall behind the sofa that was connected to the bedroom. Kakashi wasn't in a hurry to wake Naruto up. He walked into the bedroom and saw the broken parts of the alarm clock. Kakashi's mouth twitched. This guy, however, he still had to wake him up. Kakashi returned to the sofa and said, "Naruto, it's already past the assembly time. How long do you plan to sleep?" Naruto raised his hand. Kakashi was stunned, thinking that Naruto had woken up. But in the next moment, an icicle instantly condensed and shot toward his face. Kakashi tilted his head and dodged. Then the icicle shot into the wall behind Kakashi. Boom. Once again, the wall was pierced through, creating a huge hole. Kakashi's face darkened. He raised his hand. Zap zap zap. Electric arcs flowed, and then shot toward Naruto. Electric shock. Kakashi roared. Get up. Naruto finally woke up from the convulsions of the electric shock. His blonde hair, which was originally very straight, was also electrified. Kakashi-sensei? Naruto opened his mouth, and a cloud of black smoke floated out of his mouth. Kakashi stared at Naruto with dead fish eyes. You're late, Naruto. Chapter 58. Naruto spent the whole morning in resentment. I'm just late. Is it necessary? Being awakened by an electric shock is really a terrible experience. It's worth mentioning that because Naruto was late, and Kakashi was curious, Naruto was punished to make breakfast for the three of them. So Naruto toasted a slice of bread, sandwiched lettuce, fried the meat, and smeared it with butter. Just like that, the emasculated version of hamburgers from another world was served on the table, accompanied by medium well-fried egg soup, and a cup of freshly squeezed soy milk with sugar. It's also a unique breakfast. During this meal, Kakashi actually took off his mask in a relaxed manner. Well, Kakashi's face is very handsome, but there is a long scar under his left eye, extending to the corner of his mouth and across half of his face. After the meal, Kakashi said that it was delicious and looked forward to Naruto being late again tomorrow. In this regard, Naruto's resentment deepened. However, because he can eat breakfast with Hinata, Naruto reluctantly accepted. As for the other two light bulbs at the breakfast table, they are just two big-eyed chihuahuas to liven things up. The morning was spent in cultivation. The three of them cultivated separately. In Kakashi's words, this is to give them time to prepare for Chunon's exam. In fact, in Naruto's view, Kakashi is deliberately lazy to take the opportunity to study Kekkei Genkai. Will Kakashi succeed? Seeing that he was awakened in the morning and was forced to do hard work, Naruto cursed him to never be able to study it. However, thinking that Terumi can study 2 Kekkei Genkai, Kakashi's talent is better than her? Then I curse him to be blown up several times in the process of research. Naruto was thinking maliciously, but the jinx came true, and a loud bang followed. In the familiar explosion sound, the three of them habitually lay down to avoid being hit by the explosion. But they can't always do this. So under Naruto's suggestion, the three of them each dug a big hole. No matter what kind of artillery fire is flying above, they are not afraid of being affected by the big hole. At noon, everyone separated. Naruto invited Hinata to eat at home. The reason is that the two of them can go directly to the medical ninja class in the afternoon. Hinata shyly agreed. But when they started eating, they found that there are 2 more chairs and 2 people at the table. Sasuke coolly looked at Naruto. I was brought here by Kakashi-sensei. Naruto looked at Kakashi. Kakashi smiled and narrowed his eyes. I suddenly don't know what to eat, so I came to join in the fun. Naruto rolled up his sleeves and went back to the kitchen to add another dish. Originally, chicken stewed with mushroom and cola chicken wings, chicken and then added braised fish. Then each had a bowl of white lunch passed in a somewhat unpleasant way. After eating, Naruto said with resentment, You guys won't go to the medical ninja class with me, right? Kakashi put down his chopsticks, wiped his mouth with a tissue, and pulled up his wound mask. Thank you for your hospitality. You and Hinata won't be here in the afternoon, so I just happen to be taking Sasuke for special training. I won't be joining in the fun. Naruto finally breathed a sigh of relief. If their team suddenly trained 3 medical ninjas, then I don't know if the Sandaime will directly change them into a medical ninja team. In the afternoon's medical ninja class, each of them had a freshly dead fish. Their mission was to use the yang attribute chakra to save the fish. They used an auxiliary scroll that could help chakra transform into the yang attribute. Hanatsuki stood in front of them and instructed. The first time transforming chakra into the yang attribute, you need to be patient. Don't be impatient. Chakra has to be controlled with extreme precision. You need to wrap all the cells in the fish's body. At the same time, you need to sense the changes the scroll makes to chakra. Try to remember and learn the transformation process. Only by carefully experiencing it can you succeed faster. Saying that, she demonstrated the process. A dead fish that had been frozen quickly came back to life under the chakra treatment of Hanafujita. Swinging its tail, it didn't look like a dead fish at all. Hanatsuki happily threw the fish into a large bucket prepared in advance. This is the initial effect of the healing technique. Although this is just a normal fish and doesn't have chakra in its body, the healing technique can still stimulate its life. What you need to do is to learn the process. This process may last a day or 3 days and you won't be able to figure it out, so don't be impatient. Okay, let's begin. Sakura Haruno listened to Hanatsuki's explanation very seriously. In her opinion, as long as she could complete Hanatsuki's mission before Naruto, she would be able to surpass Naruto. In that case, what Naruto did yesterday was nothing. She went home yesterday and reviewed her notes seriously. She had already caught up to him. Sakura Haruno took a deep breath and cheered herself on in her heart. Sakura Haruno, you have to do it. She raised her hand and was about to focus on chakra when suddenly, a cry of surprise came from the other side. It was Ino's exclamation. Haruno Sakura subconsciously turned her head to look, and she was stunned on the spot. Naruto had actually revived the fish. In fact, when the fish came back to life and jumped up while flapping its tail, Naruto was also shocked. He was even shocked by the fish that suddenly came back to life. Hanatsuki quickly rushed over. Did you do this? This was nonsense, but it also showed Hanatsuki's shock. Ino Yamanaka stared at the jumping fish and was full of suspicion. Was this fish pretending to be dead? This sentence attracted everyone's attention. Hanatsuki also hesitated, because this was also a possibility. Was the fish pretending to be dead? A glimmer of hope appeared in Sakura Haruno's eyes. If the fish was pretending to be dead, then she still had hope of surpassing Naruto. Hanatsuki gave Naruto a fresh dead fish. Come try again. Under everyone's gazes, Naruto took a deep breath. In fact, he was also muttering in his heart. The wind element chakra's attribute change, the water element chakra's attribute change, and the ice element chakra's attribute change all made him suffer. Why was the yang element's attribute change so successful this time? Maybe that fish was pretending to be dead. Naruto condensed chakra in his palms and activated the support scroll. The support scroll activated Naruto's yang attribute change in chakra. This time, Naruto felt the change in chakra. It was an indescribable feeling. It was as warm as the sun, and as refreshing as the wind. It made him feel refreshed, and the exhaustion from last night was swept away. Was this the yang attribute chakra's attribute change? So comfortable. At the same time, the fish suddenly opened its mouth and swung its tail. It was alive. Success. Naruto's success shocked everyone. Sakura Haruno's half-open mouth was like a drowning fish. She opened her mouth a few times, but no sound came out. At this moment, Naruto gave her a feeling that she could not surpass him. Hanatsuki's beautiful eyes were filled with a kind of greed. Her eyes no longer looked at Naruto as if she was looking at a human. It was the expression of a greedy female dragon looking at a shiny treasure. She smiled like a flower. Naruto, remove the support scroll and try again. As she said that, she gave Naruto a fresh dead fish. This time, Naruto did not succeed. Without the support scroll, Naruto didn't know how to control chakra and make the yang attribute change. Hanatsuki patiently instructed from the side. Don't worry, use chakra to wrap the fish. Feel the life force in the fish that hasn't dissipated, and then activate it. Naruto tried a few times but to no avail. He then said to Hanatsuki, "Sensei Huayu, can you give me a few more fish? I want to change my cultivation method." Although Hanatsuki didn't know what method Naruto wanted to use, she still cooperated and took out 3 buckets of dead fish from her storage scroll. "I've prepared a lot of dead fish for you. You can have as many as you want." Naruto's eyes lit up. Multiple shadow clone technique. Bang. 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 50 Naruto suddenly appeared. The originally spacious room was suddenly filled with Naruto's clones. Fortunately, the room was large enough that it wasn't too crowded. There was still a distance of 2 meters between each person. Then the 50 Naruto's clones lined up, each took a fish, and started to practice. Hanatsuki was shocked and exclaimed, "These 50 clones aren't after images." Naruto nodded and replied, "Yes, they're all physical clones." At this moment, Hanatsuki suddenly saw the future of medical ninjas. There was a future after Naruto. Hanatsuki asked with a trembling voice, "How long can these clones last?" Naruto counted with his fingers. "One day shouldn't be a problem." Naruto thought to himself, "After all, it's only 50 clones." Hanatsuki's eyes widened. Happiness came too suddenly. Hanatsuki was so excited that she almost couldn't breathe. 50 clones that could last for a day. If this strength joined the medical ninja team, getting off work on time every day wouldn't be a dream. Because she was too excited, Hanatsuki directly hugged Naruto, like a cat lover who saw her favorite cat in her heart, and loved it very much. This not only stimulated Naruto, it also stimulated Hinata. Naruto hadn't even hugged his girlfriend before. First, he was kissed by Princess Little Snow. Now he was being hugged by her teacher. Hinata suddenly felt a great sense of danger. The danger of losing Naruto. As for Naruto, it was naturally good to have a beauty hug him, but what was the meaning of lifting her up into the air with her feet off the ground? "I'm not a baby." Being lifted up high like this, so embarrassing. What was even more embarrassing was that there were 4 girls watching from the side. And Hinata was among them. Chapter 59. On that day, the only person who succeeded was Naruto, who didn't use a support scroll. The only person who barely succeeded after using a support scroll was Sakura Haruno. If it wasn't for Naruto, this would be a result that everyone would be envious of. As school was about to end, Hana Fujita casually chatted with Naruto. "Did you look at the plant dictionary I gave you yesterday? There are a lot of interesting plants in it." In order to cultivate Naruto's interest in medicine, Hana Fujita decided to supervise him diligently. She couldn't let Naruto waste his talent. Naruto nodded and replied, "I read it all." In Hana Fujita's understanding, this sentence was like a child receiving a picture album and flipping through it from beginning to end. She nodded and thought about how she had the same experience when she received a plant dictionary for the first time. Her smile became even friendlier. Sakura Haruno had been carefully listening to the conversation between the two. Plant dictionary? What was that? However, since Naruto had read it all, she couldn't fall behind. Thus, Sakura Haruno decided to go to the bookstore on the way home today and buy a book to take a look. After school, Hinata stood at the classroom door waiting to go home with Naruto. Even if the same road was only the same street, she wanted to walk with Naruto for a while. However, Hana Fujita waved her hand at her. "Little girl, you go home first. I've decided to teach Naruto some more things." Little girl? Little girl. Because Hana Fujita didn't know anyone else's name apart from Naruto. Naruto saw that Hinata was waiting for him and said, "How about tomorrow? Hana-sensei has worked hard today." Hana Fujita waved her hand repeatedly. "It's not hard, not hard. You're very talented. I'll teach you the deeper principles of chakra scalpel first. Go home and think about it carefully. Maybe you can learn it tomorrow. Why don't you let that little girl stay and listen too?" Seeing that Naruto seemed to care about the little girl at the door, Hana-yu's heart moved, and she used her trump card. As expected, Naruto stayed behind obediently. Hinata sat beside Naruto. 10 minutes later, the class ended. At this moment, under the setting sun, the sky was filled with burning clouds. outlining a myriad of poses that would cause one's imagination to run wild. The two of them strolled side by side against the burning clouds. The orange-gold light shone on their faces, casting long shadows on the green muddy path around them. The wind blew, and the shadows of the trees fell. It was very comfortable and comfortable. Hey, Naruto-kun, did you understand what Hwayu-sensei just said? Hinata didn't know what to say, so she casually found a topic to talk about. Although it was a terrible topic, it was already an excellent improvement for someone like her who didn't know how to take the initiative to talk. Naruto nodded with a thoughtful expression. I did understand, but Fuji-sensei didn't tell me how to do it, so I still haven't figured out how to do it. Does Hinata have any ideas? Hinata shook her head and said honestly, I didn't even understand, but I'll try my best. Seeing Hinata's serious expression, Naruto paused for a moment, then grinned and said, Okay, if there's anything you don't know, feel free to ask me. They walked to the end of the street. One left, one right, one south, one north, and it was time to say goodbye. The red glow of the burning clouds shone on Hinata's face, making her look even cuter. Hinata's serious expression was especially apparent when she said goodbye. Naruto-kun, see you tomorrow. See you tomorrow. Looking at Hinata's departing figure, Naruto suddenly thought, tomorrow should I be a little late? But if I'm late, Kakashi-sensei might still come over to freeload. After returning home, Naruto looked at the repaired wall and suddenly froze, because he didn't find anyone to repair it. In his original plan, if one day this house collapsed, he would spend money to buy a new one, or even rent one. Naruto had long yearned for a villa with a front and backyard and several floors. Living in a place like the one he was currently living in was like living in an urn. Naruto felt that it would kill his passion for life. In his previous life, he had already spent most of his life in an urn. Was he going to have to spend the rest of his life in such a place? Naruto found a note on the coffee table. He opened it and read, I've already found someone to repair the wall. Consider it a return gift for breakfast and lunch. At the same time, a brand new alarm clock is included. I hope you won't be late tomorrow. You're incomparably handsome, teacher, Kakashi Hatake. Naruto's vision darkened. He complained, incomparably handsome? I admit that you are very handsome, but no matter how handsome you are, you can't be more handsome than me. Then a smile unconsciously appeared on his face. Well, then I'll stay in this house for a while. He casually placed Kakashi's note into the plant dictionary book. He stretched his body and cooked a bowl of noodles. Taking advantage of the leftovers from lunch, he took a simple bite and then continued to cultivate. Ice element advanced control cultivation, controlling the ice element with one hand. Unknowingly, it was already the wee hours of the morning. Naruto glanced at the time. His rationality told him that it was time to sleep, otherwise he would definitely be late tomorrow. Let's practice 10 more times. I feel that I'm not far from mastering it. At 3 o'clock in the morning, Naruto raised both his hands. His left hand controlled an icicle, while his right hand twined snowflakes. This should be considered a success, right? Next, Naruto fell head first. This time he wasn't lucky enough to fall on the sofa. Instead, he fell directly onto the floor and fell asleep. The next day, Kakashi brought Sasuke and Hinata to visit Naruto once again. Outside the house, Kakashi stared blankly at the hole in the wall. He recalled that he had already found someone to repair it. Furthermore, to be on the safe side, he even had his doppelganger take a look to confirm that his cultivation was not bad. But who could tell him what was going on with this hole? The position of this hole was a little different from what he remembered. Kakashi turned his head to the side and saw that there were obvious traces of repairs. The answer was clear. This hole was newly made. The corners of Kakashi's mouth twitched. Today, Naruto's house was locked. However, this was not a problem for the former elite ninja of the Umbu. Chakra's water attribute changed and seeped into the door lock through the keyhole. Pada. The door opened. Naruto's house was only so big. With just a glance, they found Naruto on the sofa. It was probably because the floor was too hard and he had to climb up at night. Kakashi looked at the other parts of the house. Another hole appeared on the wall next to the bedroom. Kakashi did not need to look to know that the alarm clock he gave was most likely sacrificed. Unable to vent his anger, he shouted, "Naruto!" Naruto raised his hand in a daze. 3 icicles appeared in front of his hand and shot towards Kakashi. Kakashi's hand burst with lightning and formed a net. He raised his hand to defend, and the 3 icicles disintegrated in midair. After that, Kakashi smirked and struck Naruto's body with lightning. Zzz. Naruto's wails rang out. You're tuning into the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.